Hey everybody, welcome back to Kanode Knows. I hope everybody's having fun at Dawn of the Streets. I'm super jealous that the entire BMX world is in New York right now, and I hope everybody's having a good time. I wonder who will win. This week's episode is with Grant Castelluzzo. We talk about, Grant's been in the game a long time, and he's a pretty amazing rider, as well as he's become one of the top-notch filmers. We talk about what it was like to film Honey, how that whole project came together, what it's like hanging out with Jordan Godwin and Felix Prungenberg, two legends, and everybody else in the video, Riley Smith and Dan Crook, and various other stuff. I honestly, it's been maybe a week or two since I've recorded it, so it'll be a surprise for me as I listen to it. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Send me a message to keep going. Smash that notification bell and like and subscribe and all that shit. Thanks for watching, and yeah. Oh, also, this will be the first video on Spotify that I've tried, so let me know if you're watching this on Spotify. All right, here's Grant Castelluzzo. Grant C, the audacity to use Succession intro was so dope. When the Succession intro song came on for Honey, I was like, dude, I was smiling already before the video even began. I was like, that's a bold move, Cotton. How did that come up?
Uh, I just was watching the show and just kept thinking about the intro song is like pretty sick, and I was like visualizing, like just watching it, kind of the way they put it together. Like I was visualizing, like, oh, this could be cool for something, like just whatever. I don't know what it's gonna be, but sometimes I'll hear something and I'll be like, oh, if the project's right or whatever, like eventually just put it on a list, whatever, whatever. So
Yeah.
I'm like waiting and waiting for something. And I was like, you know what? Just try it. Just put it in the fucking timeline and like see what happens or whatever. And it started like lining up super good or whatever. I could tell. I mean, like obviously when you're using like, like scored music, like the vibe is like, that's why they make it. Like they make that intro song so that it can feel that way. So I'm like, you know what I mean? Like half the
Yep.
audience isn't even gonna know what the fuck it's from anyway, because like, and Paul said the same thing. Paul was like, what's up? Are you sure with this? And I was like, I mean, no one else, none of the guys said anything about it. Do you think that even anyone's going to notice? And he's like, you're right. We're a bit older than the target demo. Like, I don't really even think kids watch that show. And I was like, I'm sure they don't. You know what I mean? The only people who have said something, it's like you, Jeff Z, and Paul. The only like, oh, what's up like with that? No one was negative. They were just like, oh, what's up with that
Yeah.
type
Who's
thing. Like,
It's
that's it.
amazing. I just thought it was like I like when song choices happen that like really make you go like, whoa, what? You're doing that? Like I had one where I used Sexy and I Know It for Eric Ballman for a Shadow video, and I had to
Yep.
argue with Ryan Scher, and I think Ronnie even got involved. He was like, "No, guys, we can't use this song," and I was like, "I insist." And then it blew up and did really well. And it's just I like bold moves, dude. No, that was sick.
Appreciate it. Yeah, to be fair, like they usually are pretty chill when I do We the People project about the music. Like I always ask the writers, like, especially for a part, like it's their part too. You know what I mean? They're
Oh
putting
yeah.
in like just as much work, way more than mine. Actually, the hardest part, they're doing that. So I'm like, you have to be happy with it. So like let's work together
Yep.
on the music. And then usually at that point, if the writer's already pretty set, the brand has always been kind of like, yeah, you're cool. Like it's more to me, I'm all about like making the writer happy, because first and foremost, like that's just as much their art piece as anybody else's. You know what I mean?
100%.
So sometimes the brand would have a problem depending, but I also kind of just work within the confines. Like I usually am like, well, this is not going to be something they're going to like be upset about or whatever.
Right.
And some brands are pickier about others, like as far as their image is concerned. So like, certain things don't fit or whatever. But I think, if most riders kind of know what they ride good to or whatever, especially if they're like keen on making parts. Obviously,
Yeah.
some guys don't care, whatever, you know what I mean? But like sometimes, like in me and Dan will have like, Dan likes different music than what you would always put into videos. He just likes a lot of like popular hip hop and stuff.
Okay.
And I'm like, some of that stuff is fine, but sometimes it's like hard to put that in a video if it'll date it, because sometimes hip hop is so fast moving of like a genre,
True. Yeah.
like modern, I guess like modern rap music, the style changes like every few years to what's popping, and it
Yep.
can really date your video if it's not the right song, in my
Yep.
opinion. You know what I mean? Like perfect example. Like think about how sick all those OSS videos were, like
Yep.
2015, but they all like seem like 2015. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that, but like they don't have like that same feeling of
The
like
timeless feeling.
longevity. It's very much like, oh, that was a window and it's sick, like the fucking cool, and that window is cool and that era was cool, but those songs are outdated sounding. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's sometimes nice to try to like mix it up. But even with Dan, he knows, like he knew, like I think I might have showed him a different part, and he was like, all right. So he sent me a bunch of songs, and I kind of like worked with him on it.
Sick.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. While you're, so first of all, you keep saying Paul. Who's Paul? We the people,
Oh
I imagine?
yes. Yeah, he's like the team manager of, well, I guess like the team manager for marketing person at like a lot of the brands for We the People runs. He doesn't do a claw anymore, but he used to do the claw thing.
Okay, dope. What's his
Paul
last name?
Robinson.
Oh,
Robinson.
Paul Robinson. Cool. I'm learning. I feel like I'm gonna learn a lot talking to you in the next
He,
hour or whatever.
he's like a
Oh,
quiet, like behind the scenes kind of dude, but he does a lot of stuff, like tons of graphic design work and ads and internet marketing stuff for them. But he also like helps do Doomed and Silent Mag.
sick. Yeah.
So yeah, he's everywhere.
What's the deal with Doomed? Because I know that's Jordan's thing, right?
Yep,
He's
I can't.
credited.
I'm not 100% sure on like who owns what percentage, but like Paul and Jordan do
Cool.
Doom together. Yeah, and I don't know what whose role is what. I think a lot of, just based on the art and stuff, a lot of that art is Paul art, but I know Jordan has done whole shirts and designs and stuff, so it's kind of like a collaborative thing, I
Yeah,
think.
that's so
But
sick.
obviously, I think Paul wants Jordan to have a lot of focus on the
Yeah,
writing aspect, so I think like he takes a lot of the back
yeah.
end business
Jordan
side of the stuff.
is that brand, and that I mean, they're killing it. Speaking of Jordan, so I was like, Jordan Godwin, you're from the Midwest. Do you remember a writer named Corey Godfrey?
Yes.
I in my brain that's so jumbled from my 20s of partying and hitting my head too much. I was like, I reached out to Jordan like, "Hey, do you remember like doing foot jam whips with colorful wheels back in the day?" And he was like, "What?" In my
Yeah,
brain
he
I mixed up Corey. I thought that Corey Godfrey, cuz I remember like BMX forum days, like seeing Corey Godfrey or this like early come up days and just thinking like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And then now Jordan Godwin's popping off and I was like, congrats, man. You've come a long way.
yeah. Well, Jordan probably didn't even ride back then.
I
That's the
know, that's
thing.
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did some research on Jordan and I saw like his old, there's a video part or a video called DTSG or something. And
yep,
have you seen that?
yeah.
It's insane. He's doing shit like way ahead of his time, and because he did acknowledge like he was like, yeah, I did used to run some colorful shit on my bike, and I found it. I found a clip where he's got color coordinated tires and grips and beanie and all that shit, but he's doing crank arm ice hard down a handrail, and it's just like 2014 or 15. It feels like
And he
so.
had probably only been riding for a couple of years at that point. I think he told me he started riding in like, you know how it's hard to decide when you actually started riding because you're like been around it. He said like he started riding like 2012 or 11 or something. So it's not like he's even really been riding like that long in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, it's
So
so
it's like
crazy.
when he told me that once, they would send these guys over here, and I would be like filming them, and I don't know who Jordan was. They're like, "Oh, we got Jordan coming." I'd seen him in some videos. Oh, well, whatever. Have
Yeah,
him come over. We'll film. We'll have a good time. Whatever. So I would be talking to him like, "Oh, when'd you start riding or whatever?" And he's like, "Oh, like 2011." And at the time, it was like 2016 or something. And I'm like, "The fuck? You've been riding for 5 years? How are you so fucking good? I don't understand." And he's like, "Oh, what do you mean?" I mean, most people don't ride this good that quick. You know what I mean? He's like, well, maybe it's because I rode moto. I was, oh yeah, I mean, probably that does. I'm sure it can't hurt. You know what I mean? You're not
yeah,
scared at least, right? Like
for
whatever. And
real.
he's like, yeah, probably that. I was like, jeez,
And
you're
just
fucking
that
crazy.
it's like a general bike control. People who come from a racing background have it. Yeah, moto makes sense, and just the gnarliness, like the. So I was listening to your in the Volvo episode with Jeff Z, and you were talking about Jordan and going to Hollywood High and his mindset on doing so. Like I think the time when you were talking about it, he had done the Pegs Hard 3 down it, and like he
Yep.
had other ideas, but he's like, nah, I'll take the one and we'll keep it moving. And I was like, I fuck with that. Like that's like mature, like not trying to push
Yeah.
his luck on a rail. Has
Yeah.
he
He
yeah,
had done Ice Hard. The first thing he did was Ice Hard, and then
so
we went
crazy.
back and did Pegs Hard 3. And then when he was just here, when we were filming Honey, he like finished filming that monster video with Pete.
Yeah.
Like Pete came and they like stopped filming with me and they did their own thing. and he went and got the crook card then. And like
Unreal.
obviously, I'm pretty sure he knew he was gonna do the crook card, but like I said, his perspective is like I think he knows it's kind of risky to be. It's not that big of a rail, you know, as far as like it looks huge and it's like famous or whatever. But he's like, this rail is pretty good. Honestly, it's big, but it's like the perfect big rail. And he's not the only person I've heard say that. Like I just went there with someone else. They said the same thing. Like it's big and it's like famous and big, so it's like cool to get a clip there. But they're like, this rail isn't that scary to me. Like I've ridden
Yeah.
scarier rails, so like they're hyped because they can do the trick that's open and it's not gonna like kill them. But at the same time, Jordan's pretty realistic. It's like you can only do stuff like that if you get lucky. Just take it, and you're like, oh, I walked away. I'm good. Like
Yeah,
I can
exactly.
ride another day. Like I don't have to like push it to that point. And I think he's like it's longevity thing. I think he's like in it for the long run, you know. So
Yeah.
he's like, well, I'll just come back. It's
I
good.
love
I
that.
keep me motivated, you know.
What's his general, I mean, it sounds like he has a good attitude about BMX in general. Like tell me about the first time that they sent him out, you know? What's the
This is
get to
actually a
know
pretty
Jordan
good.
like?
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. This is like I realized how cool he was at the end of the trip. Like, you know, whatever, I'm vibing with him. He's cool. At the end of the trip, he was like frantically, like we were at a coffee shop and he was like frantically trying to like look at stuff on Instagram. And I'm like, oh, you ready to go? And he said, oh, 1 second, 1 second, whatever. And he's not staying in my house. I had him stay at someone else's house who has a bigger apartment. And I didn't really think anything. He didn't have service, you know, which I knew. Like coming here, he probably didn't have an international data plan. Like I don't buy one when I go international. So I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. I'm like, oh, did you not like check Instagram or whatever before, you know? And he said, oh, Jesse didn't have Wi-Fi. And I was like, what? He doesn't have fucking Wi-Fi at his house? And he's like, Jesse and Stahl had lived together and they didn't have Wi-Fi. They were like, they would like use their phone as a hotspot or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so since their stuff's all connected, they just turn it on or whatever. He didn't even ask and he didn't complain. He was here for like 3 weeks or something and he never said a fucking word to anyone, including me. It's like
Huh.
2 days before he left. And I was like, you're the chillest person I've ever met in my
Yeah,
whole life.
for
Like
real.
you're like trying to talk to how are you talking to your mom? He's like real close with his mom. And I'm like, so well, he's like, yeah, I just haven't really spoken to her. I was like, oh my God, Jordan, you need to like complain a little bit, man. Like, I get it. You don't want to be like an annoying person, but that is like, I was like, I would have had you just come to my house. Like, I didn't know that was the situation. They offered to
Yeah.
put you up and they were cool. And that's when I was like, yo, this dude is like the real deal. Like, nothing is going to, he's just going to ride and like nothing's really going to bother him. You know what I
I
mean?
fuck with that. That's so dope. That's a good man. That's a homie. But I don't know. Being easy on trips is something that you take for granted. Being around good people, because then that one time you go on a trip where it's just like this one dude constantly complaining, and you know the whole trip becomes about appeasing this one person. It's like, man, you're terrible to be around. You know, nobody wants to be that guy. That's sick.
Yeah, that's like a super important thing in BMX for people. It's to understand it's like everyone is pretty good. And
Yep.
so when you make someone's job like way easier, I mean, you were the filmer at first of Rosa or whatever. It's like you know the guys who made your job easy and you like loved. You couldn't wait to like be back with them. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like that's how I feel. It's like we're on this, and some of it's just like you're on the same wavelength. You know, like you guys, your brains kind of work in a similar way, and
Yep.
some of it's that they're adaptable. But it's like it just makes it way easier, and no one's getting paid that much. So you're
Yeah.
like, dude, this is path of least resistance. Like you actually make my life so easy that I will work with you 1,000 times. You know what I mean?
100%.
It's hard to find that too. Like not everyone gets along like that. Not everyone has the right like mentality as far as like things being easy. And I get it. Like BMX is like stressful and being a pro is not easy and like there's not very much money and I know that gets annoying. You know what I mean? Like we all complain about it. Everyone complains about it. You've heard it,
Yeah.
but it's when a dude is just easy to work with. You're like, yeah, that's the guy who should be getting
Mm-hmm.
at the max money that you can get because he's doing it with minimal complaint. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You got this other person who's complaining and like you're getting less out of them. Then you have someone like a Jordan who's like very easygoing. And it's like, I'm sometimes like, you need to complain more about things because like
For
everyone's just
real.
going to assume you're fine. And I get it. You don't want to be difficult and you're actually not. You really don't care that much. But I'm like, at this point, you are like a pretty valuable person. You need to like kind of know your worth. You know what I mean? He
Yeah.
doesn't, I think a lot of the Euro guys don't. They have an attitude of like, I'm happy to be here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they're still in that kind of mindset, even though they're like ridiculously good. They're still like, oh, I'm happy to be in the conversation. And I'm like thinking like, I get it, dude. I get it. I'm happy to be here too. But like you have like some power here. You know what I mean? Like you guys
Yes.
actually have power. and you need to push. Don't be like a fucking prick about it, but you can
Yeah.
push a little. You know what I mean? Like
And that's
it's
in
fine.
business too. Like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but there's a fine line, you know. Be the chill wheel most of the time, but then when you know your worth, and like that's the other piece is knowing your worth and being ballsy enough to say, here, I'm worth more than what I'm getting right now. What is so you mentioned like the max for a pro rider? What would you say the ballpark is for like a factory sponsorship
It
pro rider?
it varies like so much. I feel like you know what I
Yeah.
mean. There's dudes who are like killing it for like $300 a month, and then there's like
Oh,
other guys who are making. I've heard like insane figures that some people are making, and it's like the American economy where it's like the income disparity is so big, where it's like so few people get to that level where you're actually like doing better than a person with a full-time job. You know, there's
yeah.
like a couple of guys like I'm gonna imagine I'm gonna say I don't really know, but I'm gonna assume Dennis makes more money than like
Yes.
a person going to a warehouse. You know what I mean? And like
Yes.
Chad makes more money than a guy going to a warehouse.
Yep.
But most dudes are not at that level. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like a good BMX check, and I'm talking like a very good BMX pay is like
Yeah.
what you would make working at a warehouse
Yeah.
40 hours a week. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And that's good. That's
Yeah.
not the normal. That's not the average. That's like top 10.
Yeah. So crazy. It's
It
so
is
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of it's annoying because I see every side of it. Like I get it. It's hard to like justify paying people because you don't, it's like, what is the person even doing all the time? You don't really know.
Right.
But some people you do know, you know what I mean? Like some people are very transparent about like what they're doing, and they're not asking you to just like pay for their lifestyle.
Yeah.
They're like actually providing value to a brand. And some of it, it's like they're so important to the brand. And I don't know what every brand does because I've only worked for a few, but I feel like it's really hard to get a living wage. And you know what I mean? It's like these
Yeah.
guys have to stack like a lot of sponsors, and then
Yes.
the little bits all add up to something like
Yeah. Exactly.
okay, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And again, it's hard because it's like you're doing what you want to do, but there is a value there. Obviously, like someone needs the problem is I think a lot of bike companies think they need a team. They don't need that team. You know, their perspective is maybe like, well, yeah, I would look bad if I lost this guy, but it's not that big of a risk because sooner or later they'll be replaceable. It
Yeah.
feels like people are treated like they're replaceable.
Yeah.
That's the vibe I get. I don't know. I'm not the one making those calls, but sometimes I'm like, you don't understand. Like, this is your brand. Like, this
Yep.
guy, these a couple people are your guys. I see it all the time, and I'm like, oh man, like that's your guy. Like, if you
Don't
lose
fuck it
that,
up.
I don't know
Yeah.
where you're gonna go. You know, and
Yeah.
sometimes it happens. They'll lose that person. I'm like, I don't know what the brand is now. Like, what are they even doing? And I'm sure they're
Yeah.
still selling. You know what I mean? The thing is, then they do that, and then they probably see like, oh, I sold, 2% or 3% less, and that's like
Yeah.
not that big of a
Big
loss to
whoop.
them,
Yeah.
right? Like, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't still do the right thing, right? Like,
Yep.
I've even talked to Robbie about it. He's like, yeah, I mean, you probably would lose like a few percent here, there, or whatever. But he's like, that's not the point though. Like, the point is like, you as the person who's running the brand has the ability to like, this is BMX. These are the guys. Like, so you got to support the guys if you want the guys to be the brand, right? So it's like, it's more than just like, oh, I get a return, this return. It's like about building the brand.
Yes.
And
100%.
obviously, Cult is like, you know what I mean? Some of those team members are so like indiscernible from the brand. They just are the brand, right? Like Dak,
Yeah. Dak is
Chase D
cult.
Hard, Chase Hawk, like those
Yep.
guys are Cult, like, right? So it doesn't really matter if they would like 2% down or 2% up, like that shouldn't really matter. And I think Robbie knows that's why those guys have been there. You know what I mean? That's why they've all like, they're
Yeah.
still very like much Cult. When you think about Cult, the logo and those guys are instantly what you think of,
100%. And also I think they hook more riders up than any other company. Like
Yes. Oh yeah.
they have flow worldwide. Like one of my favorite international riders, like I can't think of his name right now. He's a husky dude with a beard and he does super smooth tech shit. He just posted a clip of the longest Smith on a rail to 180.
Yeah, make
Maicon
Duarte, yeah. He
Maicon
lives in
Duarte.
Brazil, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that dude is sick.
Yeah. He's repping Cult, and that's just so sick to see the worldwide representation. All right, so a couple of my brain's all over the place, but how old are you now? You were
I'm 35.
I was gonna say I listened to the come up, which is 8 years ago, and you were 28 then or something.
Yeah, I'm 35. I'm old. In BMX terms, I'm old.
Yeah, BMX. I'm 32 now, so we're
once you
getting
cross
up there.
30, you're old. Yeah, that's pretty much how it works.
Okay, grandpas. And then in your Volvo episode with Jeff Z, you were the the We the People team manager at the time. What
Yep.
what happened after that? What happened in the past 4 years, BMX career wise? What's your life look like?
Did kind of US team manager stuff, but obviously they don't have like the biggest US presence. And I don't know what, some of it's limited by distros, some of it's like, I don't know, whatever. It's just kind of how it is, foreign brand. So they kind of don't have that many US guys. There's some people I put on, whatever, and there's not a lot always happening. So I feel like I was trying to do more, and then they kind of didn't want necessarily, like maybe didn't see the need for like a full, someone like being here doing that role. So then I kind of just switched to doing like just video stuff, like kind of be filming or whatever on like a monthly. And then they were just kind of like, well, there's not enough stuff going on, so it's like just do projects. So it's like
Oh, so you
I
went
just
from
do
being
projects.
TM to being on a retainer to down eventually just to per project basis.
Yeah, so now I'm just per project basis. So there's no like,
Oh,
I don't do, I work for whoever. So I'm doing a lot of projects right now.
yeah.
So I'm done with the We the People thing. So I actually don't have anything kind of on the plate for them. Honey was kind of like the thing I was finishing.
Shit was
And
fire.
then, thank you. And then I'm doing work for OSS, which, like, I
Cool.
don't know if people know that's still a thing. It's kind
Yeah.
of, they're going through a rebrand. They've got new stuff coming. There's a bunch of stuff happening. Like, I don't even know. There's going to be like a full video, like a full length video that I just picked up at the end of. So I was like, I'm just helping them finish
Oh,
filming.
that's cool.
So that's in the works. We've done a trip. We're about to do another one. So just kind of
Who's
helping
involved
them
in the
out.
OSS video?
Um, Phil is like the team manager.
Phil Bra.
Yep, he's
Yep.
sort of like running the ship over there. They had a filmer that did skate stuff. His
Cool.
name's Matt. Used to work. He works for Huff, I think, like maybe like in the warehouse or something. But he films skateboarding. He was helping them film before, but he was a full time job, so they like they need someone that's like a little bit more flexible with their schedule. He's probably going to edit the project still because it would at this point it's probably like 80% his footage,
Nice.
so
Yeah.
it makes more sense for him. You know what I mean? Like the guy
Yep.
who filmed most of it should take the project really, otherwise it's going to be a little weird.
Yep.
So he's going to take that. I think he's been starting editing like as it is right now.
Sick, dude.
We're
That's
going to go
exciting.
to New York and try to be done after that. And I think like, I'm hearing like cool premiere stuff. We'll see how that goes. But,
Sick.
it's Adam's involved. So he has like the ability and
Yes.
the ideas to do big stuff. So it
An
sounds
OSS
pretty
premiere.
cool. It sounds
Yeah.
pretty cool. And the full parts in that for sure are going to be like vegan. Ryan Mills
Cool.
is on.
That's his
Give me a
comeback
second.
video part, right?
And it's going to be heavy. Yeah, he's done like
Sick.
he's like when you're on a trip with him, he's like filming the most. You know what I mean? Like he
Yeah.
wants to ride like bad. Pat Frayne, he's Australian, rides for Cult.
Yep.
So
I know
he's
Pat.
like one of the new guys on OSS.
I didn't know he's
And then-
Australian. That's cool.
Yeah, he's lived here for years. He got married to someone here, and he's been chilling.
Nice.
He like fell in love on a trip, and then like they did the whole back and forth thing or whatever, and he finally like moved here and got married and stuff. He's
Hell yeah.
sick guy. And who else is gonna have a full? Oh, Andy Garcia. How am I forgetting that? Andy
Beautiful.
Garcia. He has like the most footage out of anybody, I guess.
I
Him and
believe
Vegan have like a lot, probably like 3 parts worth of footage if you really like put it all together.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. Those are the main 4 parts I know, and then like tons of footage from Nick's. Like I filmed Connor Keating, Mikey Tyra. They all are like different stages of how much they're riding or whatever.
Yeah.
But this dude Nick Crow, you wrote with Nick Crower.
Yep.
He's like I was filming him kind of, and then he came out with OSF, and I was like, Phil, like this kind of just makes sense, right? Like whatever,
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, Nick's sick, whatever. So I think like Nick's gonna have like
Fuck
maybe
yeah.
like a half part or whatever. I filmed a decent amount of stuff with him, so
Yep.
kind of just a bunch of, I would assume like 2 or 3 like mixed parts with like 4 full parts. So probably like a full length project at the end of that.
That's
what I mean?
fire.
It'll
When
be
you
sick.
come in and you pick up a project like that after somebody else has shot 80% of it, like, do you have the same camera setup? What is your camera
Yeah,
setup, and what was his?
Yeah, he uses Sony gear, so he has like, I think he might have an A7S2 or something.
Okay.
I have an A7S3 now
Gang.
and an FX3, so it's just like the same sensor, but in
Nice. Yeah.
like a semi-cinema format.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean the footage shouldn't be like that weird looking. They're the same fisheye, the Canon 8 to 15
Yeah, that's the
with the
standard.
adapter
Is
and stuff.
that's what I'm learning is the standard HD fisheye is that Canon 8 to 15.
Yeah, if you're using like a mirrorless or anything, it's like the only lens that's worth owning. Everything kind of looks like the cheap fisheyes look like like
Bad.
soft and like out of focus, and
Yeah.
they're not. You know what I mean? It's like nice to have it be
I have one right over
adjustable and
here that
stuff.
I got for $100, and then I like it. You can't focus it. I put it at
No, it doesn't work.
f22, just hoping everything's gonna be in focus, and then it still is just dog shit.
Yeah, the ring does nothing. It's like I don't notice a difference. And then I have like a zoom lens with a rocker zoom on it, like Vish was talking about.
Yeah.
And I actually showed him that setup.
Sick.
So he's like, yeah, it works pretty good. Once you get used to it, it's like, it doesn't really look any different on the back end. Like when you see it, the footage, it looks, you're zooming and it's in focus and everything.
Yeah.
It just has more limited range than like, a camcorder would have like further zooming.
Yeah.
But it's like an 18 to 105. So it's
plenty.
It's fine.
And you still
Yeah,
get the
it
same
works.
effect. I'm curious, do you shoot in like a picture profile? Are you shooting in log like a cinema
No.
nerd? Or
No, I would not.
ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, exactly. BMX does not pay enough to like set your camera up to film an S-Log and then grade
Yes.
the picture. Even if you're like using the LUT, like just the amount of rendering time just doesn't seem worth the value. So
Yeah.
I'm all about trying to get it as good as you can out of the camera
Yes.
and then fix it if you have to. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's like when you're watching the footage, sometimes you're like, no, that clip just happens to be generally brighter or darker. Let's kind of adjust to make it
Yeah.
blend a little better. But I don't really want to be doing that much like post-production work on this kind of stuff. It's not, no one's going to be lost on the audience, and it doesn't seem worth it anyway.
For real. The only time that I like think it's required to shoot in log is if you're doing like a commercial project that's gonna, air on television or a big cinematic thing. I have A7S III as well, and like for my work, just to save space, I'm not even shooting in 4K. Like I'm shooting 1080, and it still looks crispy. It just, do you shoot in 4K for BMX? I would imagine.
No, I use 1080 for the most part.
Yeah,
It just depends. I've done some stuff with RBMX and like they want in 4K, so I'll film in 4K for like event coverage or whatever.
Yeah.
But the zoom lens I have actually won't film in 4K on the camera. I would need to buy a more expensive one, which has been out of stock for like 2 years.
Because it's a popping ass lens.
I think it's good. I mean, I use like Peter Adams, but it's like $2,800, which is fine. Like I would invest in that because I use it every day. You know what I mean? Like for gear you use every day, like the value it's there.
Yeah.
It's been out of stock for a while, and I just like periodically check. I think that they didn't realize it was gonna like the need was there, so they produced it, but they didn't think like, oh, this many people are going to use it. But like a lot of people use it. Anybody who's using like those pro level Sonys with like FX9 or FX6, like that would be the lens you would want to use if you were like not in a studio. If you need to like adjust on the fly, that's the lens you would buy. Yeah, so that would be what I would need to film it for. And I would switch. I don't care. Like whatever, hard drive is not that expensive anymore, and it does like at the end of the day would look a little better. Yeah. But it's like it's just easier to process everything. 1080, like my computer is new, so it just like everything render effects, whatever you want, just boom, 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 done, instant, like no
super
render
nice.
time.
Yeah.
So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's huge. That's awesome. What about like handle? There was the easy handle that Jason Hernandez made famous. What handle are you rocking when you're filming lines?
I'm still using that. I still have the same easy handle V2 that I've had since like sick. I don't know, forever. Yeah.
I'm so jealous. I always wanted that. And then I'd look up, I remember back in the day when I was filming BMX HD, I was like, I got to get that handle. And then it was like $500 or $300 or something. And I was like, I can't afford that. So I got the Uptech version of it. It got the job done, but
yeah, it's
sick.
It's great. It's just now I'm like kind of tired. I wish I could afford and find, because again, out of stock, like just switch to an FX6 so that like you just use the handle that comes
the
on.
handle's on
you know
top,
what I mean?
yeah.
So then like kind of that would just like make my bag actually have less stuff in it. It'd be like more gear, but like take up less space.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because I don't take apart the handle. I just put the whole thing in my bag. So the camera is in the handle always.
Cool.
Like the A7S III is just in the handle.
Dope.
So then it doesn't take long to set up, because I don't really like making people wait around.
Yeah,
like if someone has
quick
the bug,
draw McGraw.
Yeah, if someone has the bug, it's like you kind of want to set, even if I have to set a tripod up, I'm like rushing because I'm like, I know this window can close. You know what I mean? Like, especially if it's kind of like a little bit bigger of a setup, it's like this dude could just kind of be over it, and anything that's going to make them not do it, I don't want to do. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I don't really like switching angles too much once the person's really started trying.
Yeah.
Maybe in the beginning, I'll step here, whatever. But once they've given it a few solid ones, I'm like, yeah, you're committed, because I know that can like mess guys up. Like, I film with Mike Stahl, and he'll be like,
Why are
oh
you
yeah,
moving
that shit'll
around?
mess me up. Yeah, he'll be
Yeah.
like, that'll fuck me up. Like, I'll be just be thinking about why you're moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, I
Yeah.
get it, dude. It's distracting.
Yeah. That's
Obviously, if it
interesting.
needs to change, I'll change. Like, if I'm like, dude, it's fucking looks like shit, I need to move. Like, I
Yeah.
fucked up. I didn't think about the right thing. They're like, all right, cool, yeah, whatever. But I try to like just be as minimal and like out of the way so that they can just do the thing, you
That's
know?
very considerate. I'm fucking all over the place. Like if somebody's trying something for 100 tries, even if the angle's good from where I'm at, I'm like, I'm just curious. Let's go see what's going on over here. But the quick draw McGraw shit, like RJ Orr out here, he's got the, all right, I'm doing this now, and then I'm like, all right, fuck, okay,
That is the hardest people to
Yeah,
film.
yeah, for
Those are
real.
by far. It's like, I had filmed this guy, Little John. He's sort of
Yeah,
like the Midwest. He's kind of like,
yep.
he just like does whatever now. He kind of travels all over. He's that dude. Like, when we were filming stuff at the park way back, he would just like kind of be like, "All right, I'm doing it." You're like, "Oh fuck!"
I
Like,
hope you're ready.
I was half ready. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's hard, but those guys, I don't know, something about the way they ride. It's just like they
It's
don't.
because they would do it without a camera. They
Yeah,
like,
exactly. They don't really care. And he said the same
yeah,
things. I mean, I don't really care
yeah,
if you film it. I'm like, well, fuck. Well,
fucking
I do
wild.
though. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, yeah, they're just pretty motivated by themselves to do it. That's the hardest. It's like, you never be like, I killed it with that one. You're like, yeah, I
Yeah.
got it. I got the
Yeah, for
clip.
real. I documented it, we
That's
got the
it
spot.
though.
When you're setting up to film something, what goes through your head? What's first priority? Like as far as, picking an angle, picking a lens, like all right, suppose and let me give you a scenario where we're going to do a 360 down a 10 stare. Which side of the rider are you on? Do you
I
have a
like,
side? Are you at the top or the
yeah,
bottom?
usually, but it just depends. So if the thing is like, I like to be kind of, this always changes, it depends on the actual setup,
Yep.
but I like to be kind of at the takeoff. And I like to be pretty, like, I want to be the closest to them, like as they're like leaving. And I kind of want them to turn towards me
Okay.
if I could, and then like fly to the side of the lens. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So it's like fast, and then like, like they, you know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, as they move away, the distortion is worse, like further. So it makes it look like the
Yes.
gap is even further.
Yep.
I like being at the takeoff. It just depends. If sometimes, if there's like a rail or a fence or something at the bottom, like, yeah, that might look very far away from the top, but you don't see the
Yeah, you
how
got to
dramatic
illustrate
that
the
is. So then you
spot.
want to
Yeah.
be a little closer to the thing. It does that. Luckily, I have two cameras, so it's like, I'll just put one on the tripod so you can get the perspective. Like, I'm like, oh well, this makes it see like the height's not right.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm like, well, I have another camera. It doesn't matter. I don't care. The other
Yeah.
one can show the height. And
Yep.
then I'll just put that in there at some point, either on a lead in. It doesn't even need to be the full second angle. Like, the runaway or the lead in or something, like just to show the height quickly so you kind of get some
Yeah.
perspective.
Exactly.
Because sometimes with the fisheye, you don't have any perspective. Like, it makes the trick look super cool,
Yep.
but you might not know what the actual spot looks like.
It's so crazy because even with how good cameras are now, it never does it justice.
No,
Video, when you watch something on video, you're like, oh, that seemed like I could do that. And then you go to the spot and it's like, holy shit, he did what? Like so wild.
it's really hard to do a spot the actual justice. Even if you're like, even if you're the best filmer in the world, you're like, fuck,
Yeah.
that wasn't what it looks like. You know what I mean? You just
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I guess I don't know how to make that look as cool as it was. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
For real. You touched on a principle of fisheye filming that I think is important, especially for filmers listening, is just like unless you're filming a line where you're following and you want to keep your subject in the center, like if you're doing something where they're going from one side to the other, you want to use the entire fisheye lens, like the whole thing. So your trick starts over here and then ends over here. And that was something that I learned early on that I was like, that makes it the illusion that you're talking about of just like looks like you're moving so much faster, you go so much further. What are some fisheye filming tips aside from that one that you would give to filmers listening?
One, you're gonna want to be on your toes. You want to just be ready, because the best angle is the one that you're probably going to be close to getting hit on.
Yeah.
I just, you know what I mean? I just feel like that's like the nature of fisheye filming, the best. And I used to be like not good at filming fisheye. Like, that is something that I was not a strong suit of my filming. And I like worked on it, because I just like, I don't really like the way any of my fisheye clips look. You know what I mean? Like, what is everybody else doing? What are other people doing that makes their stuff look better? So I'll just like watch stuff and be like, all right, I guess, you know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
then when I had invested in the Canon fisheye, I was like, well, I'm spending money on this Canon fisheye, which I actually bought from Navaz. So thank you, Navaz, for selling that to
Shout
me.
out
Gave
Navaz.
me a screaming deal. I was like, if I'm gonna drop in and spend money, I'm gonna like use it properly. You know what I mean? I want to be like, this is a thing that I find to be the weakest part of my filming. So I want to make it the best part of my filming.
Why did
So I
you
like,
think it was the weakest?
I just wasn't thinking about filming fisheye. I just filmed with the fisheye. Do you know what
Okay.
I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about what I needed to do with the camera necessarily.
Okay.
Exactly like what you were saying about using the whole frame and stuff. Like I wasn't always doing that. You know, I
Right.
was filming the clip, the person was in the clip or whatever, but it didn't feel
Yeah.
like sick. You know what I mean? There was not a lot of thought involved.
Yeah.
And I think that once I started thinking about it, that's just how you make an improvement. You know what I mean? And then like when we were filming Out of Line for We the People, we used VX. And
Okay.
so that video wasn't like all filmed by me and I didn't edit it, but we were like, because those guys live in Europe, it's not that cheap, you know, to always be with them. So they got VXs and they got Mark One fisheyes for the 21, just like I had, because that's a setup I had. And they were like, I was like, hey guys, like I know, like I'm not trying to tell you how to film, but like I sent them some like how to film skateboarding, like fisheye basic bullshit. And I was like, I'm not telling you how to film, and these aren't rules. But once you see this, you can't unsee it. So it will
Yes.
make you better, even if you kind of say fuck that, you will be like, I've learned something, and you
Yes.
can't. That knowledge won't go away. You'll think about it somewhere. It'll be in your brain. And they're like, oh, dude, no worries. Thanks for blah, 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 whatever. And now, like, Felix and Jordan are both, like, super good at filming.
Yeah.
And it's not because of that. It's because they put in the hours of fucking filming,
Right.
you know, their homies and stuff. But, like, I'm like, because you watched that, it probably sped it up
Yes. For
because
real.
I was like doing a bunch of research. Like I was like, well, skateboarders are generally better at filming than bike riders. So let's, you know what I mean? Just go and figure out what they're doing. Right. That's
Yep.
how I even figured out the camera setup and stuff, just watching the stuff they were using. And I was like, their stuff does look better than ours for the most part. What is it? Why do I like it? You know, just like
Yep.
being methodical about that kind of thing.
That's dope. One of the rules that you made me think of, like fisheye tutorial, is if you're closer to the subject, you tilt up, and if you're further away, you kind of tilt them down so that their head stays like either way in the frame. Chopping heads is a no-no. That's fun,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. It is fun.
How long have you been filming?
For almost the whole time I've been riding, probably like my friends had like a dad cam that we would just like pass around or whatever. And none of us even had like, I think it might have been high eight. So we couldn't even like get the footage onto a computer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like none of us knew how to do that. We were like 13, 14, 15 years old, just like whatever. And we just wanted to watch it, you know? So we just be watching the clip whatever. But I didn't own the camera. And then eventually I like asked for, I think it was a GL2 for Christmas or something. And my parents like bought it for me or whatever. So then we passed that around like it was the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever. Then I bought a VX because I was like, oh, this thing kind of sucks or whatever. Like I'll sell it and buy this VX. Bought the VX. Same thing. Like I never was like a filmer with that though. It was just we had the camera. You know what I mean? Me and my friends just had a camera. We were just filming whatever. I didn't even know how to edit until I got hurt. And my friend who did know how to edit was like, oh, you're probably gonna need something to do. I'll just teach you how to edit like some basic shit. Like, oh, you just put the stuff here and then you put it in. And this is how you like trim it or whatever. You know, it's like there's really not much else you need to know. Anything else you just figure out as you go.
Yeah.
All right, cool, sounds good. So then I started like, all right, well, this is a thing to do. And then after that, I would be like, oh, this is cool, just making stuff. But again, I was filming without like thinking about how to film. It was just like, oh, I have a camera.
Just document.
People are doing stuff. Let's just document it. And
yeah.
It switched like way later. I was like late to like taking any kind of, I was selling videos without even being like super serious about it. You know what I mean? Because I was like, man, there's no money. It doesn't matter. Just, you know what I mean? If someone needs the video, I'll sell them the video or whatever. But then I was like, my name's on this stuff. Like I should probably like be a little bit more serious about it. You know what I mean? Like,
but there's a valid point there. People care about the writing way more than the filming. Like it definitely helps to have a good filmer, but what matters is the trick that the dudes are doing.
Yeah, and I think that the combo makes it, if you have both, that's when you get people who like blow up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You know, like you have like Lewis and Ben, they're like a good filmer writer combo. So it's like that builds the hype, right? Like Lewis is very good. So like people would be hyped on watching like a garbage film clip of him, but like he gets to that like better status because it looks better.
And
You
it's
know what I mean? Like,
iconic. Ben's style
yeah,
of editing is in particular I love, and just the music choice that they brought into the scene, just like bringing a dance, like Channel Trace, that first Eclaw video that Lewis blew up with, like that changed. I started listening to that shit on repeat. Like I love that shit, dude.
it's like think about all the stuff Mastroni, all the guys Mastroni made like pop. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because like
yeah,
his he was so good, and those guys were all great bike riders. Don't you can't take anything away from them, but like Mastroni made them look good. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And Tony Ennis makes. I mean, like not like Garrett needs to be made to look good, but I'm
yeah,
just saying Tony Ennis makes Garrett look even better than he is, and
yep.
that's probably pretty hard to do since the guy's like arguably one of the best people to ever touch a bike. But it's nice to have the combo. Like, yeah, obviously, dudes will get pretty far without ever having like a super dope film part. But I was even just thinking the same thing about like Clausen. I saw him and he was talking about how, oh, I almost finished a part with Tony. And I'm like, that's what I
Damn,
want
that's
to
gonna
see
be,
because
yeah,
like Clausen, there's nothing wrong with his videos. He's just doing what he can with what he has. Like his homies are just filming him. I know he's got a camera and he's just like, here you go. Like I want to do this thing and I'm not gonna
yeah,
hold back. I'm gonna do the backwards wall ice. You know what I mean? And you're
yeah.
just gonna fucking hold the camera and we're gonna get it. And that's amazing and like that nothing but respect because that has to be hard to get yourself into that headspace knowing like the clip could just get blown or whatever.
Yeah,
But thinking about what that is gonna look like with
that's
like a Tony
exciting.
Ennis level, it's like that's going to
Yes,
be amazing. You know what I mean? That can't be bad.
fuck
Matt is
yeah.
insane, and Tony makes everything look good. So what do you know what I mean?
Ooh,
Like that's
that's
a
exciting.
win-win.
I didn't even know that that was in the works. That's awesome.
I
I
did. I
love
mean,
it.
I saw them filming in person. Randomly ran into them while filming Honey, and I was like,
Nice.
"What?" I think that we pulled up, and I'm like, "I'm pretty sure that's Tony Ennis." And Jordan's like, "Yeah, right." I was like, "No, it definitely is, dude. I know we're nowhere near where he lives, but I'm like certain this is him." And then I see Clausen in the park, and I'm like, "I told you it was." Whatever. Then within like 3 tries, Clausen gets his clip. Then
Hell
they
yeah.
just like go on and do their own thing because they're on their own like little tip or whatever.
Yep.
But I'm like, yo, they're working. But that's Fiend. They're always working. You never know. No one ever really talks about
Yeah,
it.
they
They
keep
don't
it pretty
talk
low
about
key.
it.
Yeah. And
I
then
don't
all of a
even know
sudden
if
they
they
drop the
know.
next like best video of the 4 years or whatever.
I don't even know if they know what they're filming for. They're just filming.
Yep.
I was like, Matt, is it like a solo part or like a project thing? And he's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I think Tony always wants to just make it like a full thing, but I don't know. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, that's fucking cool. I mean, I hope it is a full thing because it'll be the
For real.
coolest thing that comes out. So I guess we'll see.
So that leads us back to a full thing being Honey. So like what was the, like, I think we talked in person or over the phone or something. We talked a little bit about this before, but like how did it come to be a thing? How did, because Honey
Yeah,
is dope, dude. Honey's one of the best, like, it's a full length. It's,
you're right.
20 20 minute full length.
I was calling it like a mid length. And when
Mid,
people
yeah.
were asking what we're doing, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It like I don't even know what the end product is going to be, but it's more than
It's a
two
half length.
parts. Yeah.
It's a half length.
The idea was different than like the execution, but I left it like open for it to stay like that. So originally, I kind of was always just filming for We the People. Like, there's no plan. So me and Dan's like a slower burn type filmer. The stuff he does is like crazy. We have to go back sometimes 3, 4 times. Super dedicated rider. Like, love that. It's like the most motivational shit ever when he actually gets it done because you're like, we've been like, we earned this one. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you fucking earned that glory right there.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to put pressure on him because he's not the dude that's like, oh, if we need to film something, it's like, we better start ahead of time so that it can be what it needs to be, so
Yeah.
he doesn't have to rush and just do some stuff he's not happy with. So we actually filmed the ender. His ender in Honey is the first clip that we filmed
No
for
shit.
a new project. We had nothing. We were blank slate. And we were like, he had tried to film a few things that didn't work out. We went to that spot. That was the second time we went there. He does it. It's like, it's insane. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my whole life.
Yeah.
And
Physically
like,
impossible. And he
yeah,
did
it
it.
makes no
Yeah.
sense. And I
Yeah.
was like, dude, what the fuck? This is insane. And instantly I was like, this like can't just be a Dan part because I don't know. I'm like, it just doesn't, it won't get enough love. You know what I mean? Like, if this clip is so good that it needs to be like in something better than just like a web thing. You know what I
Interesting.
mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, well, all right, cool, like whatever. But then not that long after, we went to Las Vegas on like a separate We the People trip that was going to be like a trip video. And he got hurt at the first day, first spot, first thing he tried to film, like hurt his knee and like fucked it, like tore his MCL and
Like bad, right? Like you had to go through like
yeah, it was
physical
in the
therapy
clips
and
in the
shit.
video. Yeah, the
Yeah.
clips in the video. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I was like, all right, well, I guess we have one good clip, you know what I mean? Whatever. So I keep doing We the People work, we go on the trip, film the other guys, whatever. And then he comes back and he's dabbling in writing, it's taking a bit or whatever. And then like, I don't remember what the next we filmed, but it was like, something pretty solid. And at this point I was like, all right, well, Riley Smith is like a younger dude that moved to Long Beach. I'm like, we'll make a video where Riley has a part, ideally the opener part, and you'll have the ender part, and then whoever else can get clips in the middle. That was my plan.
Okay,
so no pressure on the guys. Like 2 parts, a mixed part that could be 1 part, 2 parts, 3. I don't know. You know what I mean? Whoever they're gonna send, whatever they're gonna do.
When is this? When did Dan hurt himself? Last
That
year?
would have April of 2021.
Okay.
Maybe
Gotcha.
no, longer than maybe 2020. It was like he hurt himself a while ago, and then like I had the idea for the project, had to do all this other stuff. He was hurt for like 7 months or something, so we didn't even really like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Nothing
those
really
knee
happened.
things take forever.
It takes forever, and he's been through one before, so he's like even for that, he's a hardworking guy. He's gonna be like, I'm doing everything I need to do.
Yeah.
Like I don't want this to get messed up again. I'm gonna listen to the doctor. I'm gonna go to PT. I'm gonna bust my ass there, and I'm gonna ask for extra shit to do. He's that type of dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, when he gets hurt, I'm never worried like, oh, this is gonna be it, because I'm like, he's gonna do whatever it takes. Just like how Devin's like going to the gym. It's like Dan doesn't go to the gym, but if he gets like told like, you need to do this, this, and this to get your knee better, he's gonna do that times 10, because he doesn't want to, like, he knows that even if he's done riding, it's gonna have a problem with his life. You know what I mean? And he knows to put in the work will make it work. So that, like I said, that clip was like old. Those clips were old, the first couple. But then I like told We the People like, oh, we should do this kind of a thing, and they're like, yeah, sounds great, let's do it. All right, cool. Still no name, no nothing, like whatever. Then we make some real plans, and Jordan's like, all right, I'm gonna come in January of 2022 or February, whenever he actually ended up coming, the beginning of the year. So we're like, all right, that's the start of like the filming. But Dan had probably filmed a third of a part before then. You know what I mean? And Riley had filmed a bunch of clips before then too. And then Riley ended up breaking his leg like separately, so his section was cut short. We just had what we had.
Was it on that 180?
No, that's insane. No, he was like filming with somebody else, and he just like looped out of a wall ice and like sat on his leg and like snapped it. Yeah, like one of those freak accident type things where like it should have never happened, but it just like, something weird happened. His weight just went. However, so he was done. So I was like, well, I don't even know if he's going to have a part in this. So the project's up in the air as far as what's happening. Jordan comes, and I'm like, no pressure, dude. Let's just film some clips, like whatever you want to do. And right away, he's filmed probably like 5 or 6 things in a couple days. I'm like, oh, this is looking pretty good or whatever. Yeah. And so then I'm like, oh, what are you thinking? Like, what do you want to do? And he's like, I'll try for a part. And he was here for a month, but like 3 weeks really. Yeah. Because the last week he was with Pete. I was like, well, I don't want to put that pressure on you, but if you think you got it, whatever, I've seen you do more with less. It's like, yeah, we'll just see what happens. All right, so we just keep filming, and it's like getting pretty obvious. I'm like, oh yeah, this dude's definitely gonna have a part. Like,
he's fucking amazing on a bike.
Yeah, he's ridiculous.
And when you say Pete, you're talking about Peter Adam?
Peter Adam,
okay,
yeah, Peter
gotcha.
Adam.
Yeah,
because that monster video that just came out, they were like rapping it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, like, cool. We're at 3 minutes. I'm like, all right, well, we have a part. And then he just keeps going. And I'm like, fuck. Like at the end of time, I was like 5.5 minutes or something. I was like, well, I guess you did it. You know what I mean? I guess.
Fuck yeah, you did it. That's amazing.
So I was like, fuck yes. Like, I'm like, all right, Jordan part, Dan part, sick. Like, we're in here now. We're really moving. So then we made plans for Felix to come, and he had something wrong with his elbow. He had to get some surgery to get some like stuff removed. Okay. So then they had to push him coming back. It was supposed to basically be from like January until like March is when we were going to film, or maybe April. And he couldn't even come till May. We're like, fine, just come when you can. Yeah. So he comes, and I said the same thing. Dude, doesn't matter. Like, you fucking 2 clips, 5 clips, I don't give a shit. Whatever you want to do.
Is this did he come to town when there was a premiere at Cult Club?
That was
the Cult Clubhouse that I saw him there?
Angle's premiere.
Yeah.
That Angle's was premiere. The year before for that other Claw video.
Okay, my bad. My brain's terrible. Yeah.
He comes back. And I showed him Jordan's timeline because I like sometimes do that just to motivate people. Like, oh,
Yeah.
this is like the riding that dudes are doing, like showed him Dan's stuff. And he's like, oh, this is sick, whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever you want to do. And he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, we'll see, we'll see. And I think he filmed like 4 clips on day 1.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, like we're really cruising along here. 4 clips day 1, whatever. And he's like, by like day 3, I show him a timeline of his footage. It's like a minute and a half or something. And I'm like, so I don't know what you want to do. And he's like, oh, I'm going full part. And I was
Hell
like,
yeah.
oh,
My
really?
man.
And he's like, yeah, I mean, why not? Let's just try. I was like, okay. And I had already had to go like to a wedding. So his trip kind of like, I just let him stay at my apartment while I left
Cool.
because I'm like, I have to go to this wedding. Sorry, dude. Like it was already planned. And you kind of like last minute sprung
Yeah.
being able to come. He's like, dude, I don't care. Like whatever. It's fine. I know people there. It's all good. All right, man, whatever you want to do. Like, here's a key. So I think we filmed his thing in like 8 days or 9 days or something.
Epic.
And
His
it's
full
like,
part in 8 days or 9 days.
yeah,
It's incredible.
there's nobody that I've ever met in my life that's like more productive than those two specifically. But like Felix's output is insane. Like he's about to drop another part that he's been filming at home, on and off, in between traveling. Like they just like filming.
Yeah.
Like I think some guys get it twisted and they think like, I know one time I'd like said something to Spreed and he was like, oh, I couldn't hang with you guys. You guys like film too much. And I was like, it's not like there's no pressure though. Like no one's like telling us we need to film them. It's not like anybody at We the People, if you don't get a part from Dan or Jordan or Felix, like, yo, it's gonna be a problem.
Right. Yeah.
They just
Some
like
dudes just
those
want it.
guys just like fucking filming. Like Felix just wants to take advantage of like every opportunity he's in. You know what I mean? And he can. These dudes are ridiculously good. So it isn't like sometimes it seems like it's easy. They are busting their ass.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna like they could probably film 15 parts a year if they wanted to just film like stuff they could do easily, but that's not really the way they work, especially
That's true,
Dan.
yeah.
Dan like doesn't even really want to refilm some shit he's already done. You know what I mean? He only wants to do, which is probably detrimental, but I respect it. You know what I mean? I'm like, I get it, dude. It seems really hard. You're making your job fucking hard, but that's why your stuff turns out the way it does. So I can't argue with it, you know? And so Dan had longer than the rest of them, but they saw the vision too. They're like, oh, this is gonna be cool. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, I think it'll be cool. Like, I don't know. Like I'd started messing with Jordan's part after he left because it was a couple months. So I'm like, oh, like mess with songs, whatever, redo it, this, that, the other thing. Yeah. Then Felix comes and I had the song I used for his, I already had like kind of picked out. So then I stopped working on Jordan's, edited Felix's like within like 3 days of him leaving. Nice. Then we kind of like finished it and I was like, do you like this? He's like, dude, I'm so stoked.
Hell awesome.
Yeah. That will motivate me to keep like banging through this stuff. Then I edited Jordan's part. Then I edited Riley's part because they were like, oh, here's some footage that I had filmed stuff for him that was supposed to be a frame video for something. And they were like, just scrap that. Like, just put his clips all in Honey. Like, take the best of everything you have and make his part. So I found a short song, put it all out, put it together. I was like, sorry, man, like, this is kind of what you get. And I feel bad. And he's like, dude, there's nothing, like, I like it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, it doesn't really feel like it was. Like, I know we only filmed together for like a month and probably only like 3 weekends or something, but like, it doesn't really translate like you didn't try. You know what I mean? Like, and I get it. These dudes are going so hard, but like, you still look good. He's like, no, I feel good about it. Like, it's all good, whatever. I was like, all right. Yeah. Then I finished Dan's last.
Beautiful.
And I was like, all right, this is going to be pretty cool. You know what I mean? And then I started like, oh, do I want an intro? Do I want credits? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? So then I like kind of asked the guys and they're like, oh, let's do it like up. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, let's do it. Like intro, credits, the whole deal.
Sick. And so then where'd the idea for the, like, so what'd you do to get the B footage? Just find some stock footage or?
That's like where Paul shines. So Paul Robinson, that's where I was like, yo, if I make this is my idea, but I'm not like, you're like art guy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not actually like that artistic. I like filming BMX. I like trying to do the best job I can. And I like making the feel with the music. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm into. But you are like a designer. You are like, you make a magazine. You know what I mean? Like, you're a layout guy. Like, you know this stuff. So then we were like pitching ideas for names or whatever. And he's like, yo, I know he's like, one word. I was like, I agree. Like, one word is cool. Like, you know, it's easy to remember. And then we were like going back and forth. And he's like, oh, I told the guys, like, I pitched on Hawaii trip, like Honey, and Jordan was pretty cool with it. And I was like, yeah, at first I was kind of like, oh, like kind of whatever. And then he had like he was like, because most of it is filmed from January until April, like 4 months. And he's like, and that's like kind of the amount of time it takes for them to like make honey or whatever. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, so there is like a tie-in, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, that's
that's
actually pretty
interesting.
cool. And then like he just one day like sent me a couple random ass videos of like just like old weird
Oh, yeah.
documentary videos about bees. And so then we found one, it was like 20 minutes and I like watched it a bunch of times. I was like, actually, this is fucking sick. Like, yo, Paul, this is like, and I'm saying that that's what he does. He can like find stuff in some bullshit in it, like turn it into something cool.
Yeah.
And he was like, this will be cool. Just like cut it up however you think or whatever. So then I like watched it a bunch of times and I noticed there was like a bunch of stuff with like bees on flowers. Like, all right, these are all different enough. We could use these as like title cards or whatever.
Yep.
And then obviously the yellow font makes sense, based on the
Yeah.
theme or whatever. And then kind of he helped me with like, oh, maybe at first I didn't really have like the honeycomb stuff between the parts. It was just like, I was like, here's a draft. You know what I mean? So there was just black space.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, maybe we could like do this. I was like, yep. This is
Makes
why
sense.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is your expertise. Like you can see it differently than me because I'm making it.
And then
You're
you
seeing it
did
as the
something to
outsider.
your second angles, like you washed them out
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
kind of
I
match that,
I put an
like,
effect over it. Yeah, I
yeah,
did a bunch of stuff to it. Yeah, to try to make it a little bit more
like
like kind of
vintagey.
blend. Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
blend to that style of footage a little
Yeah.
bit more. Yeah.
When
Yeah,
I
it was
first
funny.
saw it, I was like, "Oh, his settings are off," and then I was like, "Oh, he did it that shit on purpose. That was cool."
Yeah, Scott said something to me about it once too. He was like, that angle was weird. I was like, bro, there was like dead effects on that angle. That's why it looks like he's like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. And I was like, also though, you were right, that angle was out of focus, so it like kind of hid the fact that the angle was out of focus.
Yes, that's
And
fire.
I was like, it worked for me. It worked in
Yeah.
my benefit, but at the same
You just
time,
be
yeah,
like,
the
I
angle was
did
out
that
of
shit on
focus.
purpose. What are you talking about? It's an art look. It's an art project. What was I don't know, what was like sometimes when I'm filming, I get scared for the writer. What was like your most memorable moment out of filming all these guys? Like what's the craziest clip that you were nervous about? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I'm pretty scared every time I film Dan because I know that he's like gonna push it, even if it's not like the biggest thing. Usually, what he's doing is so like precarious that like he could get smoked on it, and I mean, usually he does. Like, he's not the dude that like he doesn't really get lucky.
Yeah.
He's not like, oh, I just did this thing and like didn't fall a bunch of. No, he's usually like on the floor, like picking himself up. Like
He
his
wants it.
second to last clip, that tooth hard bar on the out ledge,
Yeah.
that he went there. I think we went there like 3 times. And the last time was the last filming day we were gonna have because they were like, "Oh, we kind of have to wrap. Like, there needs to be a deadline." And I was like, I know, whatever." So I'm like, "Dan, let's just go and suck it up and like try to get this thing." He's like, he wanted it, He's like, "All right, let's go." And we're like, maybe 2 hours in, like he's just like getting melted at this
Yeah.
point. You know what I mean? Like, and he's on the ground, and he's like, "I want to give up. I want to go so bad." And I was like, "Hey, I'm not gonna tell you like not to do it. You know what I mean? Like, if you're done, you're done. You're the one doing the trick." And he's like, "But I'm gonna try more." And I was like, "If you can find it," I was like, "If you can find like 5 more in you," because he was just exhausted. Like,
Yeah.
if you can find like 5 good more in you and you can focus, it's like you're so close, like you can do it. But it's up to you. You know your limit. I'm not in your body, so I don't know what you're feeling.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, we are at the end, and this is gonna make it like that much better. And
Have you
he's
ever heard
like,
it called giving it a turkey? Give
yeah,
it
yeah.
give it a turkey.
And
Come
he's
on.
like, as he picking his, I know. It's like walking back up the stairs. He's like, he knows. Like, and then like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 into that, he did it, and it was like the landing looks like it was so easy. He like
Yeah.
turns around, and it was like no big deal. And I remember being like, well, at least you pulled it like that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for
Like, at
real.
least you didn't pull it sketchy. It looks like you pulled that shit within like 4 attempts. We were there for so long, and I really at one point thought like, this is not happening.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like with Dan, he will just like, when he has to turn it on, he'll go down with the ship. Like,
Crunch
most of the
time.
guys don't scare me. And some of the stuff that Jordan did is kind of scary, but it happens sometimes it happens fast, so you don't have that much time to process it.
Yeah.
Like he did a big oversmith on that, like it's like at night, it's like a middle rail. Like
Yeah.
oversmiths is pretty, it's like I don't know, like 18 or something.
Yeah.
And I earlier in the day, he did the oversmith that I put in maybe the intro or the trailer or something, and it's like a 12 or something. And he did it super easy, whatever. I was like, oh, it's a cool clip. Then we're driving by the airport, dropping. I think I'm picking up Sam and Donaghy, Sam Jones and Alex Donaghy, because they're gonna
Sick.
come into town. And I'm like, oh well, there's this like big rail over here. If you want to check it out, it's like definitely your style. And I'm like, no pressure though. You know, you don't have to do it right now. Just it's here. You've looked at it, so then you'll be able to decide. So we get out of the car. It's like getting dark, but the light is like directly on the run up. He's like, yeah, I'm good. I'll try it. I was like, what? He's like, Oversmith, I'm good on it. I think I got it. Whatever. He's like, oh, we'll see. I'm like, all right. So we're with like his like Instagram is Fu Man. His name's Jason. He works for We the People. He's like a
Okay.
photographer and stuff. So he's setting up fucking flashes, and I actually feel bad for him. You know how it is when there's a guy setting up 3 lights, like running
Yeah.
up the stairs. He's doing this, and I'm just like, all right, get the tripod. He's all good, and I'm like, all right, we're zooming. You know what I mean? Whatever. And then to Fu Man's credit, he set up pretty fast, and then Jordan's like, oh, we're ready, yeah, we're good. And I'm like thinking like this is kind of scary, but I'm not. It happens like so fast that I'm almost not really that nervous. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I was a little, and at Felix's Ender, I was a little scared of. He like 180s like outside of the apartment's like a popular skate spot.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
like a small gap, a rail, and then a drop, and then stairs.
Yep.
We had previously been there, and he jumped it like years ago. Probably one of the first times I'd ever filmed him. He jumped it, and then he was like, "I kind of want to go back in 180 that thing," and it was like the last day, and it was like a weekday, so it's like how it is in California. It's kind of hard to film during the week,
Yep.
but it's an apartment spot, so there's no
There's
better time
yeah.
than the week, right? Like
For
that's the
real.
only time to go. And I'm a little scared because I'm like, oh, this is pretty like risky, you know what I mean? Like
Big
if you
180s are
clip the
super
rail,
risky.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
clip the rail. But again, these guys are good, so I just trust it. He seemed so. Once we got there and he got out, he like went up there on foot and looked at it, and he was making a face kind of like it was iffy, and I was like down getting ready because I'm like always kind of I just want to be fast, so I'm like got the tripod out already. I'm like, yeah, what you thinking? He's like, yeah, I guess we'll try it. Like, okay, so I like quickly set everything up or whatever. And again, there's just not that much time to process. He didn't even jump it. He just 180'd it. Done.
That's crazy.
And
That's
that was the
crazy.
last day at like 5 p.m. The last clip we probably could have possibly filmed.
No.
Done. Wrap on it. And he had already in the morning done that 5 cab over that like
Yeah.
wall at that bell tower.
Yeah. That shit was cool.
And so we drove like clear across the city because it was like, well, I've got to finish the video. If that's where the trick is, we're just gonna go. And I was a little, like I said, there's just not enough time. You can't really be that scared about it because it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know. He seems so comfortable and confident
And that's
after
the
he made
thing.
the face.
With guys like that, like they're so talented and they're like they've built up this level of confidence to the bigger stuff that it's like, yeah, I sense when a rider's nervous and is like out of their
Same.
comfort zone, and then I start getting shaky and nervous. But they're like crazy enough to still send it, and it's like this could go horribly wrong. But I just kind of keep my mouth shut. As I'm getting older, dude, I'm starting to. I'll speak up. I'm like, listen, you don't have to. Same thing you keep saying, like, no pressure, man. Like you don't have to do this, and if you want to, I'm here for it. But
Yeah, I don't really ever. I think I've like rare, maybe once or twice ever been like, that's a bad idea or like don't do that. I kind of like, especially if I know the rider really well, you do know how you ride better than me. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I've seen it and I'm like aware of your riding, but like you're the one doing it. You know a lot better than me. So I'm usually just like, all right, like you know what I mean? Like
do
it
your
is I'll
thing.
just
Yeah,
believe in you, And I've seen the result enough that like now I'm pretty in tune. Most scared I've ever been was when Jordan tried that gigantic 360 in Long Beach where he like did a 450 down
oh
the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
gigantic
yeah,
block set. I
yeah,
was scared then.
yeah. I
Like I
believe
was
it.
I was super scared then because I hadn't really ever seen him film a big three. He had
Yeah.
done then in old videos. I guess he used to do like big threes kind of often.
Yep.
So I didn't know that really, but I was like, oh, soon. And we had already been kicked out. It was getting dark. There was a security guard, so he like looked at it and was just like, "All right, ready?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess." And then like he just went for it. There wasn't enough thought. He needed to like take some more time, to like he might have been able to do it, but he just like didn't give it enough thought.
Yeah.
And that I was fucking terrified. There wasn't a lot of time there, and I was scared because I was like, I don't even know if this is like an impact you can pull. Like, what happens when you actually land good? Will you even pull it then? You know what I
Yeah, for
mean?
real.
Like, and I
Has
was like,
anything
oh,
been done on that set? Did Jaws ollie
no,
it? I feel like Jaws
yeah, oh
ollied
yeah,
it.
yeah. Jaws ollied it, and then there's like a rail on the side of it, and Tony Nyer grinded one of the rails at that thing, like I don't know, fucking 8 years ago or something. Like,
What a
and it's, I
hog.
mean, the
Yeah.
rail is insane. Yeah, and Jaws alling is crazy. Jordan, after he was like actually kind of okay after that crash. He'd like split his chin and like chipped a tooth or something. But I mean, realistically, he was fine. No
Yeah,
concussion or anything.
that's lucky.
Really lucky, like shocking. When I walked down the stairs, I was like, it's not going to be good. And he was already coherent.
Nice.
He's like, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Like I didn't get knocked out. And I was like, oh, like instantly relieved, like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Like you're at least speaking.
Yeah.
And he was like, we're later when I took him to the airport, he's like, someone's gonna do it. He's like, more power to him. You know what I mean? He's like, I hope someone does it.
Yeah.
He's like, maybe some kid with like something to prove. He's like, oh, I'm gonna do the Jordan 3. And he's like, honestly, kind of at this point, I kind of welcome it. Like, I don't really want to do it, and I would love to just see and no one stepped to it.
Huh. So it's still out there if you're listening and you want to.
Yeah, someone 3 it, someone bar spin it. Something. I feel like the bar spin makes more sense. Like if someone went and bar spin it and you told me that, I'd be like, oh yeah, the right kid that's like hungry enough would just do it.
What's the kid out there who double barred El Toro? Adrian Shreds?
Yeah, he would have bar spun it for sure. I don't think he really rides that much anymore. I'd actually mentioned it to him. I like sent him a couple spots and was like, hey man, like you might be interested in this. And then there was that like steep rail hop in Long Beach that Nathan like nollied in that like why not part, and like Dennis bar spun it like forever ago. It goes like it's like a super steep rail and it goes into like a downhill.
Okay.
It's huge, but like I was like, oh, do you think you could like?
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's like next to the convention center.
Yeah.
I was like, send him a picture of that. I was like, you think you could like double bar this or like opposite bar this? And he was like, maybe. And I was like, oh, you should come and like check it out or whatever. And like, I'm not usually a dude that wants to just like send people to like kill themselves, but at the time he seemed like the kind of dude that was like willing to just rip it. So I was like, oh, and also you could just like straight bar this gigantic stair. So I'm pretty sure that would work for you. He's like a pretty small kid.
Yeah.
So he has the benefit of like he's short and he doesn't weigh that much. So I'm like, and I mean, you're kind of built for drops.
The physics
right?
are working for this.
It seems right, But he never ended up pulling up. He lives like in the desert and stuff. So he lived pretty far away. But again, if anybody's watching, you should might as well go and try it because whatever. It's huge, but it is
he's
cool.
Doing well, Adrian Shreds.
Yeah, I don't know what his deal is.
Let me refer to my notes here. Let's see. Oh, so you talked about frame geometry briefly in like a Volvo thing or in the come up thing. Can you give me, because I don't understand frame geometry that much. I mean, I generally like get it, but can you explain how frame geometry affects riding in a minute or two?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is that some people will tell you it doesn't make a difference. So I guess it just depends on your, you know what I mean? Yeah. Your vibe. Because I've seen guys like be able to adjust to whatever bike. It's no big deal. The people I ride with tend to be kind of picky about that stuff. I don't know, just generally changing the wheelbase, like the lengths of the tubes, shorten or lengthen the space between the wheels, and then the head tube angle effectively shortens the wheelbase as well.
True.
So into fork rake also will shorten the wheelbase. If you have like a smaller number on the fork, it's going to be a steeper fork and put the wheel more under your bike, which makes the wheelbase shorter, but it also can make like the front end steer a little quicker, which some people don't like the way that feels. Like it feels twitchy, particularly going backwards. You would notice it more going backwards, I feel like, than going forwards. But I ride like a super steep bike, like front end steep, back end short. It's like the way I ride, it makes perfect sense because I ride small stuff and I just want to spin. And it makes perfect sense. I don't need to like, but Brock like makes fun of my bike all the time because like, he's not that much taller. He's like 3 inches taller than me, but like he's a bigger guy. The way he rides is like quite a bit bigger stuff. Yeah. He can hop high as shit. And he's like, I don't know, I probably couldn't even hop your bike. I'm like, actually, you're probably right. Like the way your body is like shaped and the way you bunny hop. I mean, when I watch him bunny hop, it doesn't even look like when I bunny hop. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's like something different going on. And I'm like, yeah, well, probably if you rode a bike like mine, you probably wouldn't be able to hop nearly as high. And he's like, yeah, like his bike's pretty big actually. So it works differently for different people because Brock is like, does do technical tricks. Yeah. And he can do like, he does like the same stuff everybody else can do, but he also will do a gigantic rail hop or like grind the tallest thing I've ever seen. And so as a result, it's like, I don't know, it works for you. So it's different for everybody. I just tried out a bunch of stuff until I liked what I liked,
Yeah. I've heard some people like hate on this new wave of short, like what they call it. It's like a scooter. But
yeah, they say a scooter, but it makes no sense because like they say that about my bike. My bike is like has a tall standover height though. Like
Yeah.
when
And
I
it's a
was calling a bike a
bicycle.
scooter, I was like talking about like the frame is really low. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, and the bars are really tall. So
Yeah.
then it like looks like a scooter. They're like, well, no, it like spins faster like a scooter. It's like, okay, I get your criticism, but I don't know. It just like, yeah, I don't know. People like always used to make fun of Colin's bike because he was the first person that I saw have like
Yeah,
Colin
huh?
Marignac because he
Yeah.
had a super short fork. So his
Yeah.
wheels were like really, really close, and people would be like, "Oh, whatever, his bike looks crazy." It's like
Yeah.
whatever. I'm like, I don't know. Now my bike like probably like, shorter than his. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's just the way it is. I don't know. Yeah, some people don't.
It's
It's not for
interesting how it's
everybody.
evolved. It's evolved to be more, I don't know, like the having a smaller wheelbase, like you're saying, is like enabling more crazy tech tricks to happen on ledges and rails and shit. Um, Speaking of evolution, one thing that you guys talked about in the come up is just like the transition of BMX media and how it's consumed, and like we've gone in your lifetime, you've gone from like VHSs to DVDs to, you know, Midwest BMX allowing you to download a 13 megabyte file while you're at school and you got a separate phone line because your parents blah blah blah, to, you know, now the come up was big for a while. MySpace was the social media. Now we're at Instagram, TikTok, you know, and YouTube, and that's basically the gist of it. What my question to you would be like, what do you think is the, like, if you're a writer now, you're kind of young coming up, where are you putting all your energy? Like, what's the future?
Yeah, I don't know what the future is. I've actually confused. Like, I've had this same conversation with a bunch of people. Like, what is next? I mean, obviously, I don't even have a TikTok, but obviously, TikTok is like what's popping. Probably
Yeah,
it has been for years. Like that will probably change. I don't know what it will change to, but obviously, things have a lifespan. It's still well within the growth part of that app's lifespan, so I'm sure there's plenty of years to go there. But I don't really know if any bike companies are like looking at TikTok like that, and
yeah,
I don't even know if that's like the right content for that platform. You know, like
yeah,
you're more familiar with that world than I am, but like I don't even know if that platform is good for what we're doing.
yeah,
Do you know what I'm saying? Like it might be if you have a bike brand, it's probably smart to have a TikTok, right? Like meet the kids where they are. But at the
yeah,
same time, I'm not even sure they're logging on there or like opening that app to look for the kind of content that bike companies are creating.
right,
Unless you changed the content to like meet the trends and format there, which like, people would think is corny. You know what I mean? Like, but
yeah,
I don't know. That just seems like that's where all the growth is. You know what I mean? Like, and
yeah,
Instagram is trying, you know what I mean, by paying people to post reels.
yeah,
Like there's a lot of guys getting paid to post reels or whatever. And obviously they're just trying to like bring back people so to get them stuck on Instagram longer.
yeah,
Whatever. I mean, cool. My friends are making money on Instagram. That's great. But it just like, like I don't know what's next because they're obviously fearing that and they waited too long, just like they always do. It's
yeah,
like these companies are so wrapped up in their own thing, they can't see something that's coming along.
yeah,
So they waited. Now they're trying. I don't know if it's working, but I've had kids ask me that, like specifically High Desert kid once, like years ago. I was like, what am I supposed to do? And I was like, there's not a good answer for you, man. Like, I was like, you
yeah,
can't not do Instagram, but you
yeah,
can't only do Instagram.
yeah,
If you're an Instagram rider, there's like a stigma to that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
oh, you only ride for Instagram. Personally, when I'm in the position of like wanting to help somebody out with a brand, I don't really want to hook up the only Instagram kid.
yeah,
That's fine. And I can see that you rip that way. And you'll put me on my radar,
yep,
but I want to see you like, because when you're thinking about for a brand, your Instagram is you. That's the whoever show. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
like the brand has to think about like what's best for this. Like I want it to be this and this person by Sabrosa, by Cult, by whatever. So it's like I like need to visualize what that product will look like. And if you've already made parts, then I know what that product would look like, right? Like
true,
my
yeah,
brain goes, that would be a cool video for We the People. I
yeah,
could see that guy having one, right? That helps me. And I'm like, honestly, the Instagram is going to get like kids to be hyped on you, and which is great. You need that, you know what I mean? And it's going to get brands to notice you. But I feel like there's something that comes with like putting
and
the
a full
footage
part,
together,
yeah,
right? Like all those guys in Arizona that made Burning Up. It's like, I don't even know who any of those guys are, but I watched the parts and I'm like, oh, this is fucking rip. I didn't follow them on Instagram. I followed them on
yeah,
Instagram because of the video,
yeah,
not because I already followed who they probably ripping on Instagram for years, but they
yep,
weren't on my radar. But the part, I was like, oh, you know what I mean? They're dedicated enough to do that. They're
yeah,
probably kind of cool. That was
they're
my
so
vibe. Like,
cool,
if you're down to do that, you've got to be pretty sick because it's a lot of work. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like, there's no way you're doing that if you don't love it. It
yeah,
shows me that you like love BMX enough.
For real.
to like it's you're not just gonna disappear in a year.
That is a good example. So his name's Zach Beerley, the guy who filmed
Yep.
Burning Up, and I think he just started filming with Tyler and Nick. And Nick's a footage machine. Like he's
Yeah,
kind
it
of
seems like it.
he he has enough with me to release 2 parts at this point, and he's still not happy. Like none of I could put out all of his footage right now, and then he could film an entire part. And like he's like I don't know Felix. I don't know about Felix level, but as far as productivity goes, like he can bang out a video part in 10 days easy. But Zach Beerley moved here from, I think, Michigan or Chicago. I think it's Chicago.
Okay.
And he just like he did it right. He assimilated into the scene. He was like super nice to everybody. He was a genuine dude, and like he would ask me for advice on filming stuff. And I, instead of being like, "Hey, film me for a part," he was just like, "Hey, I think I want to start filming." And it's just like I fucking love Zach Beerley. He's the best, and I cheered him on the whole time he did Burning Up. And they tried to help him set up the premiere a little bit, and it was just the night that was. It's so cool to see another local like premiere and just bringing the whole scene together type shit. I'm proud of them. Proud of all them boys.
That's sick. Like
Yeah.
I didn't even know who he was, but my friend, it makes sense that he must be from the Midwest somewhere because I had some friends that still live in Milwaukee who would go to Arizona. What are they fucking going there for? Where's the connection? But they must have been because they were in. It was Isaiah. He was in the video, and like the friend said, "Yeah, exactly." Yeah. And I'm like, "Oh, so he must have like known someone that knew him or whatever." And I'm like, "Oh, this makes more sense now." You know what I mean? Because I was like, "What does he go? Who does he know in Arizona? Like, what is he doing? Like, whatever." And then I seen him in the video. I was like, "Oh, okay, like, I got it. There's a guy doing something. Yeah, someone else over there doing something." Because like, you guys have always been on your you and Robbie and fucking Clay, like you guys have been doing it, you know what I mean? But like those dudes are pretty young. Like I mean, they got to be in the early 20s. Yeah. So I'm like, they're doing their own thing too. Like that's cool to see someone else. Like, because I feel like not a lot of guys are picking up the camera. Yeah. So when you see one that is, I'm like, oh, fucking kudos to you. This shit is hard. That's cool. I love it. Like I respect that because I feel like a lot of guys just don't. Filmers leave and they don't. It's not like new kids really replacing them.
Yeah, for real.
If every BMX filmer quit right now, I don't even know who would be able to replace them. Like
there would be a shortage.
There's not that many guys, and I'm like, that's kind of sad. I feel like you gain a lot from having that, like making that kind of thing, and it's cool to see anybody doing it. When I see them, I'm like, fuck yes, this is sick. Like it's gonna keep going. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I don't know, dude. I'm so over tapes. That's been a recurring thing I've been saying on the podcast. But yeah, that's Zach filmed it on a VX as well. So like going through the headaches of logging all the footage and keeping track and all that, and just capturing glitchy footage and all that shit. It's just so frustrating. I'm so over it.
Same. When we did Out of Line, they kind of like. It was weird. Like Paul was kind of like, oh, like we're inspired by this, like, this like early 2000s skates. I'm like, yeah, I think that shit is sick or whatever. And then he's like, it's kind of logistically like we can buy cameras for Jordan and Felix or whatever because they're not that expensive. I was like, yeah, that makes sense, whatever. And then like by the end of it, they were like, I fucking hate it. Like they thought it was so cool in the beginning, and at the end, they were like, I fucking hate it. I don't want to do it anymore. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm good with retiring the VX again. Like I don't really need to use it. It's fun. To be fair, it's super fun to film with.
Yeah, I agree.
It's nice.
And it's a different, it's a 4:3 ratio. So the fisheye, like when you're just like your sense of what's in the frame is different from HD. I remember that being a weird thing of just like it's HD fish is wider than it is tall, so it's like that was an interesting learning curve going from one to the other. But yeah, the same. I can't wait to retire the VX. I'm 3 tapes. I have 3 full tapes that I need to capture. That I'm just like I procrastinate it. I'm like I can't.
It's tough.
So I don't think we even got into what your job is. Like what are you doing to make a living? Are you in Long Beach right now? Is that where you live?
In Long Beach. Yep. Cool. I do a bunch of stuff like most BMX people. I work part-time doing like valet for events, like parking people's cars for like fancy events in Los Angeles and all over Southern California. It's like the best part-time job you could ever have. And I've gotten like all these homies jobs. Like Dan works there, Riley works there, Nick works there, the homie Zach down the street works there. These like I got Dan the job and Riley the job, and then Dan got Nick and Zach the job. So like now I work with all these guys I know all the time. They send a blank schedule, and then you email them back like as quick as you can if you want to work, and you just sign up for whatever shifts you want.
Nice.
So it's like I just worked last night. Yeah. It's the best job if you're in BMX. Like because you can work as much. Or and Dan was working at Van's outdoor park, and it's like a pretty cool job or whatever, right? But like it's a corporate company, so they only want to give you X hours a week. You know what I mean? You
Right.
can't
Yeah.
work, and it's like pretty low because you know how it is. You know these companies are.
Yep.
And I'm like, dude, just get the job at the fucking valet place. If you want, you could work 35 hours this week, and if you want to not work for 3 weeks, they're never gonna even notice or say anything.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, really? And then within his first couple of weeks, he's like, yo, this is fucking amazing. I was like, I told you, I wasn't telling you. Why do you think I've worked this job for years? Don't
What is
quit it.
what's a good night for you? Like, is it your base pay or is it tips?
You get paid a base pay of, if you're like the valet. I also do supervisor stuff.
Okay, big boss man.
So if you I've just been doing it so long, they're just like, hey, you know how to do this, just fucking do this.
Yeah.
You make $17 an hour. The pandemic was good to us because no one wanted to come back, so they kept raising the pay.
Nice.
So you make $17 an hour valet, and then tips, which can vary drastically. Like you could make $3 in a 4-hour shift, or you could make $150. You know what I mean? It just depends. Which is the role. This is kind of fun, to be honest. Like you don't know what you're gonna get, and you're like hoping it's gonna be good, but it could be super shitty. And it's the easiest job ever. Everyone comes in usually in the same like hour span and then leaves within the same hour span. You just stand around with people for hours, just hanging out. It's pretty
and
easy.
You're interacting with different people and like, hi sir, how you doing? You know, like that type shit.
Exactly.
That's cool. I like that. That's a fun. I want to do that part-time.
It's amazing. It's seriously like the best thing ever. And I haven't been working at that much because I do another job which pays better. I do like work for like an event photo company. They do photo and video activations for like corporate clients, but sometimes it's like we'll do a bar mitzvah or a wedding or whatever. And usually at a wedding or a bar mitzvah, it would be like a photo booth.
Cool.
But it's a photo booth that is like instantly shareable.
Nice.
So it runs through like some software. It does like some quick touch-ups, makes it like a size that's more shareable, goes on a tablet, they type in their email or whatever, boom, sent to them, they can share it. And obviously we do that on a booth with corporate companies, but now it's sort of expanded. We do like I have gear sitting out here that this stuff is like sitting on for like a photo shoot on Friday that I'm doing. And it's the same thing. We just shoot it on like a normal camera, and then it goes through a Surface tablet. It processes it, and then it ends up on an iPad for them to share. But this one will be, it's for Hulu or something, so they'll have like some backdrop that they need it shot against. And then, their idea is like it will be shared on social or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like I work for that company, and
it's a smart hustle. I like that.
It's good. I got it through like the homie Sean Moore hooked it up when I first moved here. He doesn't even work for them anymore, but it's like pretty good pay. It's day rate. It's honestly pretty easy. I've gotten Dan into it because I'm like, dude, you only have to do this a couple times to like pay rent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I will hustle more. I'll do it as much as they'll give me work because it's not very hard and it ends up adding up pretty quick. But it's like the best because it's like, yeah, sorry guys, I'm busy this day and this day.
Yeah.
And then I'm free basically whenever else. And then I do filming for whoever. So OSS filming. We're currently filming a project with Brock currently. We've been on like a pause for contests and stuff, but I think we were just talking about picking back up. It's just finishing. He has 3 minutes, so it's just like finishing. Sick. And the last time we talked, he was kind of like, it's kind of just at the unfun part now. Like he needs to film like big stuff.
Yeah.
Like we filmed
Banger
and he's
season.
like, and he's just kind of like, I'll get the list going and then we'll meet back up, know? And so it's cool. Like he reached out to me to film, and I wasn't really in a position where I wanted to take like different people, but then he wanted to keep filming. And I think, like Zach, who is the man, films for Odyssey and Sunday, but they have a big team. Yeah. So like Brock had just put a video out. He's like, they're not just going to film more with me. It's not my time. They need to like, the brand needs to film everybody. He's like, I don't want to stop filming. So we just started a project, and he was trying to do it as a Red Bull thing, but I guess like they're not really video part brand. You know what I mean? That's not really like the way Red Bull works. They're kind of more of like a production thing. They want it to be like a spectacle.
Yep.
So he's just paying me out of pocket, which seems insane, but like that's what he wanted to do. And I mean, kudos to him. Like that's no one's doing that. Rarely are guys doing that. So like respect to him for doing that and reaching out and like putting himself out there to like not be idle. Most guys would just be like, well, it's whatever. I'll just
chill for
chill. Yeah. And he's like, no, we'll do this. We have like, he was filming while Jordan and all those guys were here. So it was like easy. I'm already out. Yeah. And he's like pretty easy. Where are you guys going? I'll just meet you there. Like he's like a professional,
Yeah.
dialed
And he's
guy.
so nice. I
He's
like
the
of all the
coolest.
BMX people I've ever met, like he's one of the nicest for sure.
He's
Um,
sick.
so what like you got OSS going and you got Brock? Anything else you're working on?
I'm finishing a Sam Jones BSD video because same thing. I like was at Battle of Hastings and I was like, yo, you should just come over. Like they were all like drinking at the end of the night. I was like, you guys should just come over with Jordan. Just come with Jordan. You guys are boys. Like if
Fuck
there's
yeah.
one guy filming, what difference does it make? I might as well just film somebody else. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I have to be free the whole time Jordan's here to film him. So just come.
Yeah.
He's like, really? It's like, yeah, just see if BSD will pay like for you to come or whatever. I'm sure they will. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they probably want people to be proactive. So he asks, they just send him, no big deal. You know what I mean? So he's here, he gets hurt after filming like 2 minutes of footage. So we could have squeezed the project out. And I was like, well, that's up to you. You talk to Grant at BSD and see what he wants to do. Maybe he'll send you back. I don't know, but you know him better than I do. So he's like, yeah, I guess once I get better, he's just gonna send it back out. So then he came back out.
Sick,
We wrapped
dude.
it, and I started editing it, and I sent them like a draft, and they were like, "Well, we'll do some graphics or whatever, and we'll get back to you." Because they have like Sowerby, and he's like super good at. Obviously, he's amazing
Yeah.
filmer and then like editor, but he's like, "Oh, I'll do graphic." He does all the graphics for the frames and stuff.
Yes.
So
Sarby
he's
is a
like,
legend.
"Oh, he's amazing." So
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, we'll get graphics and get back to you." All right, cool. And I sent Sam the draft. He's like, "This is sick." I was like, "Well, it's not even done. Like, there's some space, and it like needs to be cleaned up or whatever. But if you like it here, good. Then everything's all good." And Sam was super proactive, like pick the song ahead of time and stuff. Like,
Nice.
yeah, I love when guys want to do that because I don't want to pick your song really. Like I know some filmers like this is my vision. Like I want to, I have it set up a certain
Yeah.
way, and I want the writer to be happy with the part too. So I
Yeah.
like they don't get necessarily always the final say in the song, but I'm never gonna put a song they don't like.
Yeah, for real.
Because what they're not gonna like that part, they're not gonna want to push it. It's gonna be like,
Yeah.
Grant made this fucking whack ass song that I don't even like. You know what I mean? That's like not cool.
Yeah.
I've been the writer and like not liked the song, so it's
Me
like I
too.
know that feeling is not sick.
Shout out Charlie Crumlish in my Stranger section.
You didn't like the song.
I didn't like my song. But for the project as a whole, Charlie, it went well, and fuck it, doesn't matter. That's funny.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to film for whoever at the moment. I mean, like I would love for something to turn into something full time, but if it doesn't,
I think you're doing it right, dude. Just
it's easy to float.
Yeah, a renegade or whatever it's called. What's it called when you're just a one man or freelance, whatever, freelance.
Live literally as freelance as it gets. Like
Yeah.
talking to BSD, talking over here, it's just whatever. Like everyone
Yeah.
knows that I'm like, I don't know. I'll tell you whoever I'm working for. It's all good.
Yeah.
No one's gonna be mad about it. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Like if someone wants to hire me, I would be glad to take a job if it was the right fit. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like this is what it is. I'm also filming like what else have I got clips with? Maybe Benny from they write for Sabrosa.
Dan Benny?
Yeah.
Sick.
We have like I'm not editing the part, Benny's gonna edit the part, but we filmed some stuff. So I think we're almost done with that. So that's another part, OSS thing. Yeah, just kind of all over. Hoping to get and I'm about to be at the spot where I need to like install. I'm always filming stall because we're like homies. We ride together anyway every weekend. He's coming out no matter who's in town. So it's like you're just gonna get included and I want him to have good, nice film stuff. So it's like
he's prolific as well. They were just on some trip out here, and I got to film him he's got a guest clip in Mediocre too, and I'm excited. And
nice.
Just watching him ride in person is incredible. All those dudes. Who else is there? Yeah. I miss the BMX life. Like I'm glad you're still in it, living it, and just
it's hard.
Doing
I know why. You know what I mean? I get why people leave. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And you were working for a brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you're but dream job is like, you know what I mean? Like
poverty
is the dream
line,
job I don't know, I don't know what you were getting paid, but like I can't imagine it's like great, you know what I mean? Like, and obviously whatever you're doing now, you make way more money. Yeah. And that makes certain parts of life easier. It's like a trade-off though, because it's like obviously having money makes like your general life easier, but then it just depends. It seems like you like what you're doing. Yeah. So if you like it, then that's you fucking struck it. You know what I mean? Like that's the same thing. Like I don't mind doing the valet. I don't want to do it every day. I don't mind doing the photo thing. And sometimes it's video. I don't mind doing that. It's cool. If I did it all the time, I don't think I'd be happy doing that. You know what I mean? It's like the balance is what I like. But if in like ideally, if I'd filmed BMX all the time and it paid good enough to make it make sense, that would be the best. The
Yeah.
problem is that's not like really a reality, unfortunately. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I almost feel like it's getting worse over time somehow.
Yeah. Well, because
Like
of
bike companies
the
need
like,
more content and more work for the filmer. Like if you were filming for a brand, that's a lot of work now. Think
yeah.
about how many outputs you need to have for everything you put out.
Yeah, I mean, talking head content, be it bike checks and just like nonstop. You got to have 3 reels a day and 3 TikToks a day, 3 Facebook things a day. That's what I'm doing for the client or my boss that I'm working for now. It's just it never ends. It's just consistent, and then something pops off, and eventually you grow. But yeah, so there's something magical about what you're doing, where like if you're doing the valet job and then you're doing the other thing, but while you're doing those jobs, you're probably thinking like, I can't wait to get into, or I can't wait to get on my bike and ride and go film. Like I miss those days of like working at Jimmy John's, and just as soon as I got done with my shift, like I'm editing all night because it was like what I loved to do, you know? And now it's like I get done working for the day, which is editing and filming, and then I'm like, I don't think I want to edit much, you know? Like
Oh yeah. I'm
it's a
like
little bit of a
trying,
trade-off.
I'm always trying to like inch forward on just the amount that I'm making. It's like I eventually would love to not have to valet. You know what I mean? Like that would
Yeah.
be ideal, but I live in the real world. Like I'm not delusional. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I know not to expect BMX to pay all the bills. If it does for a month, that's fucking great. Love that, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the best life. But I live in the real world. Like I know that that's not that easy to come by. Like the guys who have that, there's a few guys who, you know what I mean, that's their full-time thing. They're they seem pretty stoked for the most part, but you never know. You know what I mean? They might
Yeah.
not be, but it's like I think it's like I want to try that because I've never actually really had that. Even when I was working for the We the People, it wasn't like at a capacity where that was the only thing I could do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I want to try that. I might fucking hate it. It might suck. You know what I mean? Like it might not be what you think it is. But I feel like I want to give it a try just because it
Yeah.
seems cool. It seems
Well,
worth a shot. But at the same time, if it doesn't work, I live in the real world. I'll just keep working. You know what I mean? I've
there's
always been a dude
there's
that
an
will keep
opening
working.
at Fit.
So they don't want a full-time filmer.
Yeah.
They don't want that. That's like part of the thing. I think that they don't, you know what I mean? I don't know if brands like see the value in it.
Yeah.
They want all the content, but I don't know if they see the number making sense to them.
Right.
You know, like if you were working for, I mean, you do it. You work for
Yeah.
someone in a different industry doing a very similar thing, and
Yeah.
it probably pays fucking 5 times what you would make. You know what I mean? 4 times what you would make.
Literally, yeah, that
And it's
literally,
like,
yeah.
and it's like they see the value in it, right? Like I don't either they're better at the metrics, you know what I mean? They're either better at measuring the return,
It's
or
interesting.
I don't know what the
Yeah.
disconnect is. BMX isn't that. I feel like BMX isn't that good at like doing the research to find out what's working. It's sort of like
Right.
a feel. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, we'll try this, but I don't know if
Yeah.
again, I don't fucking know because I'm not in the office. But I don't know if they're like actually like assessing
Yeah.
what is
Dude,
happening.
it's such a weird thing because even in the freelance video world outside of BMX, like how do you like measure the value and like give your cost, you know? Like
Oh,
and
I have no idea.
there's what they teach called value-based pricing. So like suppose we make a video for this company, if this commercial does well and like brings in X amount of dollars for your company, then we could argue like say this if this video does well and brings in 100 grand of revenue, isn't it worth 10 grand for the video? And it's like that's one way of doing it. But in BMX, like there's what is the value of having a dedicated filmer? Like what's the word I'm looking for? Where it's like it's a commodity now. Everybody has a HD camera in their
Mm-hmm.
pocket, and there's no need for one of us, you know, like a person who cares a lot about the filming and editing. It's
Yeah,
nice, but I wonder, like, Rich Forn is so fucking mysterious, but it seems like he makes a living off of just BMX videos. Do you know?
I have no fucking clue what he does. I have like an inside now because like Felix and there's a new monster video being filmed. I don't know if that's news that's not supposed to be out or whatever, but
Oh,
they're working on a new project, like
sick.
a smaller, like 4 part type thing, I think.
Yeah,
And Rich like is like, you know, spearheading operation. They've been on a couple trips, whatever. Like, I don't know what he does outside of BMX. He probably doesn't
yeah,
do anything,
it's
but he
crazy.
definitely
Yeah,
seems like that's all he does, but I don't really know. No one really knows. Rich
yeah.
is like a Mr. Even I'm like, Felix, what do you do? He's like, I don't know. I've just started
He's
getting
the
close
most
to him, and I'm
mysterious
not
man
sure I
ever,
know
dude.
what he does. He's like, he seems to have it sorted. And I'm like, you're working for Master. You're probably getting sorted, at least for that. But it's like, what happens when the project ends?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what do you do? It's not like it's enough to just sit on it forever, right?
Yep.
Like, I don't know, but he seems to be making it work. He's always
Fucking
living
interesting.
somewhere cool. He's like lives in
Yeah.
Mallorca or something on a fucking island. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's always chilling. Maybe
Not to
he's just
mention
hustling on the
like
back
one of
end.
the best writers ever too. Like
Oh, he's
just
so sick.
his writing is timeless and fast and going high.
What I think
Um,
is cool about Rich is that his like production value is like people don't like his stuff. Some people don't like his stuff. It's very specific looking,
yes.
but he's like a minimalist. Like he doesn't have any fucking gear. You know what I mean? He doesn't know anything about the gear he has. He just knows what he can do with it, right? Like
Yeah.
he's thinking about the end product and like not so much about the process, I guess, because I asked them, I was like, yo, Felix, is it like weird? Is he like really picky? He's like, no, I mean, he'll ask for advice. I'm like, well, he asked for advice? Like this dude seems like he would have everything sorted. He's like, oh, he'll ask if like the way I'm starting to film it looks cool. Like, he's like, does it, you good with this? I was like, yeah, whatever you want to do. And I'm like,
Nice.
damn, that's cool. Like for a guy whose end product looks such a specific way, you would think he'd be kind of like pretentious about it. Like, don't tell me what to do. But it's like, he seems pretty
Yeah, I
down
love
to
that.
earth for a guy with that. And they're like, he doesn't know anything about the gear. He doesn't give a fuck. Like,
Yeah, they're
I'm
just
like, that's the
tools.
coolest. That's the
Yeah,
coolest thing ever. I love that shit. Like, yeah, who gives a shit? The
that is
gear
the
is. I mean,
coolest
like,
shit ever.
it's cool. I nerd out on gear, but like once I buy gear, I'm just like I stop looking. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like,
just
this is the
it's
gear
like
I
a
have,
hammer. It's a hammer. Who
and that
cares what
seems like
brand of hammer you have?
that seems the way he thinks about it, which is cool to hear. Because again, like you're seeing all those macro shots of like sweat dripping on someone's eyelid. You would assume like the dude must be so picky, but they made it sound like no, he just like likes getting that kind of stuff. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's like,
he's
damn,
an
that's cool.
artist.
He
Yeah,
really is.
a mysterious, worldwide famous artist. We love Rich Forn.
That's right.
um, I guess let's see. What is? I think we talked about giving advice, but what's your advice to the youth, the BMX kids out there in
Like,
general?
just honestly, it's like just make videos with your friends because you will have a good time doing it. You know what I mean? Like the good time will follow from the process. Sometimes it will be rough, but I think the value you get, just even if no one fucking watches it, like you can get your homies to be stoked.
Yeah,
That means something. Like when I saw Eddie's, he's talking about like, I just want to do stuff to make my like, you know what I mean? Like I just want to
yeah,
put my friends on. Like
yeah.
you
That's the
guys can do
best.
that on your own level, right? Like different people, you don't need to be on Eddie's level of having friends like that are really ridiculously amazing. It's like the same thing can be said about a cool scene video that has a good vibe. You guys all have a blast making it, and people will respect that. I
Yeah,
think that's kind of like would keep it going. Like yeah, you're not going to make money from that or whatever, but if you're like willing to put that time in, the time you'll spend, I'm sure you've made videos like looking back on it is worth it, right? Like you had a blast.
100%. Yeah,
And it's like well, that's like the thing at the end of the day. That's what's worth it to me.
yeah.
So I'm like, well, that's the thing. You also have to love it. If you
You
love it, then
really
it's
gotta
worth
love
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
because you're not making money.
the amount of effort that goes into a full length DVD and then the return on investment from like outside. Like I have clients who don't understand BMX and they're like, so wait, how much time and effort did you put into this? 4 years, every day, couple hours a day, sometimes 8 hours for a 5 second clip. Okay, how much did you make? I made $2,000. And
Yeah, they're like, what in
they're
the
like,
fuck?
why? It's because for the love of the game.
Exactly.
Um, Another question that I've been asking people is who are some writers coming up that I don't know about that I should know about?
Don't know about that you should know about. You knew about him, but that kid Isaiah, Lil Icy,
Yeah, Lil
he's
Icy's
he's
dope.
ridiculously good. Like has
Yep.
been good forever. He's been riding since he's like a little kid. His brother is my age and used to ride, so he got inspired from that. He's ridiculously good.
Yeah, it seems
He's
like he's coming into his own now and fucking he can do everything. That
he can
is
ride
yeah.
everything. It's
Yeah.
cool. His like another homie from Milwaukee. His name is Lucas. I can't even pronounce his last name, but he's friends with Isaiah. They're always like riding together and stuff.
Okay.
He rips. He's like on Instagram, popping. He's all about it, like all about Instagram. But he like is
Yep.
filming a part or whatever.
Yeah.
Those guys are sick. Uh, some like that Riley Smith. He is on
Yep.
We the People. He's like an A lot of people probably don't know a
Yeah,
lot
he was
from
new to
him,
me. Seeing him in Honey, I was like, I didn't know who Riley Smith
but
is, but
he is fucking sick. Like
yeah.
the real deal, next generation type dude that just like loves riding, wants to ride, like kind of like big into rails, big into like bigger stuff. Can jib, is down with that, but like just like is very comfortable riding like feebling rails and stuff. You're like, damn, I don't really know. A lot of people are down with this kind of style. And
Yeah.
it's like kind of normal to him. You know what I mean? But
Yep.
he's like definitely he's got the heart, he's got the passion.
Yeah.
And he moved down here to just like ride. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like just like down. That's a big like if you are willing to relocate, you probably really like doing this because that's a
Yeah.
dangerous, like a
For
risky
real.
move. You know what I mean?
Especially
Seems
moving
like
to Cali, like where everything is more expensive. But
yeah, you really uproot your life. Like I know you care about doing this.
mm-hmm.
Another, these are all We the People guys, but just because who I'm familiar with, Logan Penberg. He lives in Austin.
Yep. Yeah,
He
he's killing
rips
it. Yeah.
so good. Yeah, like another. He's just like he works his ass off. He's like an electrician or something,
Sick.
just Eddie style. But he does
Yeah.
like big new build stuff.
Oh, okay,
Uh,
cool.
but he just rips, like gets off work early because that the hours for that kind of job, like Eddie said, they're always kind of early. They're off work at like 2:30
Yeah,
or something, you know.
exactly.
So he'll be out riding the Texas heat, just roasting, you know what I mean, just doing
Yeah.
crazy. And I used to not understand him. Like I kind of one time had a conversation. I was like, you're doing the craziest shit for Instagram.
Yeah.
But like, what's going on with that? Like,
Yeah.
do you not want to film? He's like, no, I do. I just don't really have a guy. You know, like I can meet up with a filmer, whatever, sometimes. And he's like, I'm down. Like, I want to go in for that. But if I'm feeling it, I'm just going to go. I was like, I get your perspective. I do. Like, I understand. I mean, if you were a kid, like, that perspective might even make more sense to you than it does to me, you know? Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, whatever. You know, you seem to have it figured out. You seem to be doing
Do you?
okay. So a
Yeah.
lot of people were like hating on him. And I was like, he's actually cool as fuck, though. Like, I've spoken to him in person and I've been on some trips with him, whatever. And I'm like, no, you're not understanding it. We're thinking about it like how we would think about it, and he's like younger, so he's thinking about it like his way.
Yeah. It's interesting that change of mindset, you know? And just Austin in general, that scene is popping.
Yeah, it seems like so many good riders, not a lot of filmers because Daryl's so busy doing his other
Yeah.
stuff now, you know.
Yep.
But is definitely.
Does Bob Sherbo live in Skirbo? Sherbo.
I don't know how to say his name either. I've heard both, but
I
yeah,
heard he lives in
he
Austin.
definitely lives in
Yeah.
Austin. Yeah,
Oh.
100%. Yeah, he's working. I don't know what he does, but yeah,
And then
when
like
Began would go there, he'd hang out with him.
what's the deal with Burn Slow? Do you know who started that? Is
Yeah,
that Bob's?
Adam Roy from
Cool.
like the designer that used to work at Cult.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
it's
started
his
Burn
thing.
Slow. I
I
like
think
Burn
him
Slow.
and like maybe Aaron. Like, I don't know who's investing. Maybe Aaron and maybe Chase or something.
Interesting. Yeah.
But I know that that's his designs and his baby. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So a lot of those trips are like his plan. And
It's pretty
yeah,
rad.
it's cool. He's doing
I-
something different for sure with it.
Yeah. Whenever Burn Slow's video comes out, I'm watching that for sure.
Oh yeah, it's cool.
Let me respond to a text real quick.
Yeah, no worries.
We on the clock. We have a hunch that like Instagram suppresses your shit if you put link in bio in your caption.
Could be. Probably wouldn't be that hard to program in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Instagram's algorithm and just like it's the part of the job that I'm doing right now is so dependent on like if a reel does well, then it's like good job, Bobby. But if a reel flops, then it's like what the fuck, man? You're
And
killing.
I feel like it's hard for you to even. It's impossible to know because they do change it like somewhat frequently.
yeah, and it's like something stupid will go viral, and something that you put the most effort into flops, and it's just like a matter of luck. And that's why I think the strategy of consistency is more like is more the mindset you have to have. Like if you start valuing your self-worth off like how many views your reels are getting, like that's a rough rocky road to go down. It's like a drug addict road, you know, like I'm worthless today. I only got 5,000 views on my clip, you know, like that's a whole thing. But that's the world we're living in.
It really is. There was like a time where Dan was one of the first people I knew that got that Reels Play thing.
Yeah.
I mean, other guys had it, but he's the first one I personally knew. And his first Reels Play deal was like so good. It was like in a month, 1.1 million views would get you $1,200. So he was like, for 3 months, he was making $1,200 because he just post all the time. Boom, 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 boom. He's like, fuck, I'm making $1,200. This is sick as fuck, whatever. And then like they changed his deal to like 11 million views for $1,200. And then he's like, I mean, I'm just gonna go back to posting how I did before. Just like whenever I feel like I have something, I'll post it. I'll take the few $100s I make at the end of the month and I'll be cool with it. But like for a minute, he was like trying to get a clip every day.
Yeah.
And then one would randomly go viral, like you said. Like one time he did like a nose bunk barn electrical box, and I don't know why, but that clip had 5 million views. So he just stopped posting for the month. He's like, well, I met the quota, so I'm done. I don't care. And I was like, yeah, you're playing the system. This makes sense. And he would always just be like, why did that one thing?
Yeah.
Why was that nose bunk bar? He's like, it's nothing special.
There's no determining what it is. Like we try and track like what topics my client or my boss talks about and see what does well and repeat. And then the second time you talk about that topic, it flops. It's just like, what the fuck, man? The Instagram algorithm, you know.
And he was convinced that had something to do with the song. You know, like if it's like, I mean, I'm sure some of it is like if you pick one of the songs that they're like promoting as like a trending, right, yeah. I'm sure that has something to do with it. You know, it's why everyone made reels with the Kate Bush song when that was popping. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there's something to it. Yeah. But at the same time, like, then it's, you know what I mean? It's like, that's going to have to change all the time. So it's kind of irritating.
Yeah.
It's so hard. It's like, and I know that, you know, they don't want you to know because they want you to try to be figuring it out. You know, someone addicted. Like you whose job it is, like, you have to try to figure it out, and then you have to adjust all the time.
Yeah.
And they love that because then you have to use the service more. You know what I mean? If you hacked it and you figured it out, then you'd be like, oh, I only post this day, and this day.
Yeah, for real. Like, does time of day matter? Like, I've posted things at night that blew up. I've posted, you know, it's hard to track down to make it a science. It's just like, I think just be consistent and detach from the results. You know, that's how everything in life has to go. You know, just fall in love with the process and don't sweat it if it doesn't work out.
It's even the same thing with YouTube. Me and Vish and like Robbie and a bunch of people have had conversations like nothing does as well as it used to.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm like, I don't know if it's just a flood of content on there has buried, like, you know, people are on there for more than just BMX nowadays. For the last 10 years, they've been on there for more than just BMX. There's so much content.
Yeah.
That maybe their subscriptions are so full and the daily content is coming out or regular content is coming out. So it just buries anything that you make.
Yeah. People are dropping like my guy, we have a system, we're dropping a YouTube video every single day. And it's just like, it does get flooded. And, you know, you have to ring the bell or hit that notification bell. Speaking of which, if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and ring that bell. I think we've done a good amount of time here, Grant. I appreciate you doing it.
Yeah, man. No worries, man.
Did we miss anything? Is there anything you want to announce to 200 listeners?
No, I think we're good.
Cool. What are you going to do for the rest of the day?
Finish. Hopefully they're on here like remote adjusting the overlay for the image. So hopefully that'll be done. I can pack all this gear up and then eat dinner, I guess.
Hell yeah, cool.
Yeah, maybe finish editing like some OSS clothing reels for them. They got some new clothes they're trying to. We filmed some stuff the other day, so yeah, I don't know, maybe just make some reels for that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I might make some reels myself.
I'm sure you probably will.
That's our life, man. Well, Grant Castelluzzo, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah.